Okay.
It should detect it now and let it stream.
Yes.
Yeah, all good. Right, well, wait till a few people come in then. You'll have to tell me how many's in because I can't see chat now. It is public, it is public, isn't
it? They're all thinking, is it going to stay up this time?
Is anyone coming in yet?
I don't see it. I need a link.
Nobody's here yet.
Give one a link, Jax.
I'm just seeing that you're live, but only that one that was 8 minutes ago.
Where are you looking, one? Is it on you or in videos?
Oh,
I'll put a link in Hangout. Yeah.
I got it. I found it.
Aha.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
So they're making it hard to even see it then, eh?
Mellow Earth then. Hi, Mellow Earth.
You two will have to shout the chatters because I can't see them. Hello, chatters. And ask them if for an audio check off the three of us.
Hey, Mello, can you hear all of us?
Hi, Mello. Can you hear us all? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm having a few
mic
problems.
check, please. Can anyone in the chat confirm that you can hear all three of us?
Yes, yes, all good.
All good, yeah.
Mellow Earth said, FPV, you said to ask you about the one-eye symbolism. I didn't forget asking.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're going to find out today about the Eye of Horus. Yeah, how many people's in then? One, I can't see a thing here.
I see 5, but one person's talking.
Yeah.
Only Mello. 5 watching.
Drop a link in.
But I'm one of the 5.
Drop a few links around anyway, you know, in Facebook and
the chat.
The Discord and what have you. Yeah. So the watch.
Yeah, I'm going to share it up on my community.
Well, it's quiet. We might as well share it around a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll go share
I'm just going to share it on my community page. Won't be a sec. Yeah.
And we're good for audio and stuff. That's good. Hello, chatters. Can't see you, but hello anyway. We can add an intro to this anyway when it's finished recording one and cut the beginning off. Just a test really at the end of the day, isn't it? We're doing another live test with some real research to see how we get on with this software.
All right, I posted it up live on there. Right, Luca here. Hi, Luca.
Hey, Luca.
Hello, Luca.
The blue icon. Oh, I've got the best sound. I'm Jack streaming. Apparently FPV are not very loud at all.
I'm not. How about this? 1, 2, 1, 2. I'll move the mic a bit closer. Is that
I
better?
hear you. I hear you good.
Good, good. How many's in now
But
then? One.
Lucas says the volume's balanced.
How many?
9.
How many chatters? We've got 9 chatters there. Well, we'll just continue, shall we?
Yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to APM Research Live. If you have been following our research, you will know that we have been decoding the Creator's glory to be technology in the underworld. And for the past 5 years or more, we've been researching it, decoding it and presenting it to the world audience. And we do try and get people to participate with this in like projects with Rainbow Warrior, where you the viewer can help. Because this affects everyone. This belongs to us all, and this is what we're proving. It is a creation, it's a technological construct. This is what our research just keeps finding and finding. Not what we expected to find, is it, one?
No, not at all.
We did not expect to find what we found. But it is what it is, and we're not going to make excuses for it. And what we see taking place in the world today is religion, the globe, royals and other avenues you look into is there to hide and conceal it and steal it, basically. The world just really is a stage. Everything we've been taught's been a lie. This is where we are in our research. And what we've been presenting to the world is mind-blowing. And it just gets easier and easier to decode and prove and show people and make sense of it all, which is what we're good at doing. We're good at researching it, decoding it, putting it into context, cross-referencing it and presenting it to the world audience. You may not like the format, but it's kept us under the radar a bit, the way we do it, using music and other things that we do. But these live streams, you know, there's no more music in it now. You're going to get the raw stuff now. Sometimes we make mistakes when we're live, sometimes we don't. It happens, that's just the world. So, you know, we're having some teething problems with the streaming software we've been using. Like last week, I got wiped out by companies flooding my ports. So the people on the panel couldn't hear me and I couldn't hear them, so that software got wiped out. So we're trying it this way. This is restreaming it through OBS from One Conscience's stream, but she's not actually streaming to a channel. We're just using the panel to stream it into my channel. So it's not ideal, but it'll get us by for tonight until we do a few workarounds. So tonight we're going to present to you. Jax is going to present some video information to you. One's going to do a presentation. I've got some bits to show you. So it's going to be a fun night. What do you guys reckon?
I think so.
It's always fun in APM,
Yeah,
isn't
it'd
it? It's
Yeah,
always
it's good
fun.
to talk. It's good to have conversation about my favourite subject. So yeah, good.
Yeah, this is
All
what
good.
this is what we need to be doing, interacting and discussing it and working things out and educating people on what they're really looking at.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think we all do lots of research, but because we all live so far away from each other, we never sort of get together to bounce the ideas around a bit. Because I'm just researching all sorts of stuff all of the time. And I find that stuff that I researched years ago that I didn't really know what I was looking at back then, now is getting more relevant to me. I've been looking at stuff for years and not even knowing what I was looking at half the time. And you start to connect dots. Then when you talk to other people, you start to bounce off each other. But a lot of it is just in my head all the time, just going around, you know? Ideas, lots of ideas.
Well, it's good, you know, that we do it like this now. You know, people can come and jump on the panel and
Yeah.
share their ideas and what they've discovered, and you know, this is how we're going to wake
Yeah.
the world up. You know, we're the rainbow warriors of our time. We're the people that work it out. That's what the rainbow warriors are. They're the people that work it out in their time and they tell the world what's really going on.
Takes time to work out. Takes time
Oh
to sort
yeah,
of get
yeah.
your head around it. And then you think, Well, it's the only thing it can be.
Yeah.
And then it just gets, I mean, it gets into the realms of everywhere then, doesn't it? Because it's natural at the same time as being a machine, like technology. It's the straight craziest thing.
Yeah. It just gets easier and
Yeah.
easier. Everything you look at now, you can actually link back to it being, you know, some part of this technology that's, you know, whatever you're looking at, it's either a representation of it or a depiction or some kind of it or a reference to it even. It's just been hidden very well, hasn't it?
Yep. Level APM. Oh, this is just coming to chat, FPV.
Hello, Level, Monique. I can't actually see the panel, people, so Jackson 1 will be relaying anything you want to actually
They're his
direct towards
eyes.
me. Yeah, so we're just starting there now, Monique. We're just, you know, make sure the audio's okay and having a little interaction on the chat and letting people know where we're at with our research and how we cross-reference things to make sense and everything. It's the most important research in the world people need to be looking at. And it's a shame a lot of these people in this community don't share this. It really is, because we have got the answers the world's looking for. These people know we've got these answers. We can explain it. But, you know, such is life.
Yeah, it's such a
But a big thanks, you know, to all you people that do
huge
share it.
concept to get your head around. Yeah.
I think that's the problem, you know, the amount of avenues we've looked down and cross-referenced and to show how it works. You know, people do get lost a bit, and because it's such a big picture. You know?
Yeah.
But you know, that's not unique to our times. Don't worry about it, people. Don't worry if you don't understand it all, because you look back in history, you look in holy books. These people didn't understand it. They're trying to explain something that's alien to them. Basically, you know, they're looking at things they can't describe, so they're giving it the best descriptions they can in their time. It's like, you know, asking if you're asking like a 4-year-old to climb inside a big television and explain what they're seeing. It's that's what you're looking at. You know, so you know, all our
well, it took me ages because I started to
Go on, Jax.
because I started to watch you when you very first came out with the Nazca lines, and I just couldn't get my head around it at all. Just couldn't, and disappeared off. Went off all over the place. Got into sigils, and then you brought the sigil stuff out, and I came back and stayed because I got it. I got it the second time round.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's it. You know, certain. That's the good thing about
it
our
does
research.
take time.
We have covered so many topics. You can actually bring any of these topics up with someone out there that's not even aware of this research and start making sense to them what it relates to. You know, that's the beauty of our research. We've covered so many avenues over these 5 years now and linked it all together. So you can engage with anyone at any level with elements of our research. That's the beauty of it, and it's all going to make sense. The only ones denying it are probably...
Level is FPV level saying that the audio's low for him. I don't know if it is for anybody else. For level is saying that it's her audio's low.
Okay, let's put it up a bit there now. Let me know if that's any louder. 1 2 1 2.
Hey, Danielle. Danielle popped in.
Hello, Danielle. Danielle of Rainbow fame.
Yeah, I've been doing them. I've been doing them in the garden. I need a bit of height. I need to stand on something so that I can see it a little bit better, you know? There's always two in the same place in my garden.
Yeah, that's just the sun focusing one down that's behind you, something like that.
Welcome, Mary Helm. She said, Mark finds all the best people. Glad to be able to subscribe and watch.
Hello, Mary, and welcome to APM Research and Reality. Because this is the reality. This is the reality we've decoded and presenting. And I'm sure most of you out there will make sense of some of it. You know, to know all of this, you would have to do this research we do to understand it like we do. That's, you know, this is why we're fluent now with discussing various parts of it. That comes with you know, research and time and experience, really, and dealing and processing what you're working with. We're very good at processing now what we're looking at. We can, you know, we could do this live easy. We could look at things and decode it live, but we like to present things and put things into context, and, you know, add text and give it the information it actually needs. So that's what we usually do. We usually, you know, present pre-made videos that we've made on different topics. That's, you know, that's maybe why people don't always get it, because we jump from one topic in a video to another, but they are all interconnected. You know, if you're not seeing the connection, that's going to come with time. You know, you're going to need time and watch these videos. We can't stress that enough. You have to keep watching them. There's so much information in these videos. They're jam-packed with information, and the more you watch them, the more you will get it. It depends on your own knowledge base and interests, really. You know what you will take from this. But we're not stopping anytime soon, and we're always decoding new things to show people. So don't worry, you know, this encompasses the world. This encompasses every tribe in the world, every culture in the world. This belongs to you. Your creation stories, your holy books, are actually referring to this technology of the Creator. So it belongs to you all. So, you know, no one gets left behind on this journey. We're all in this together. Some more than others, it seems, doesn't it? But that's where we're at, you know. We don't know how long we're going to last on YouTube. You know, I can see my channel probably getting deleted at some point, as I've seen other people's channels get deleted. I'm surprised we've got this far on this platform, to be honest, but we'll continue. And any attacks on us we'll take as an attack against the Creator, trying to hide their glory. So, you know, we've got the Creator. We're the only group in the world, when you think about it, that's got the Creator's back, because no one else can define what the glory is. We're defining what this glory actually is of the Creator. Very special, very real, very serious, and very now. The world is in very serious trouble right now. That's why it's all falling apart everywhere. It's to hide this. So like I said, we don't know how long we're going to last on this platform. So if you can, download the videos and share them. Mirror them, share them, tell people about it. I know they're not going to get it straight away, but the best way of doing it is find out what your friends are interested in. You know, what they look at sacred geometry, they look at scriptures, they look at volcanoes, earthquakes, particle accelerators. You know, what is their forte? Well, you've got to find out what these people have got an interest in, and then link the APM perspective on that to them, and then they might start seeing the bigger picture. That's really how it's going to work. And if anyone's got any questions, but now, you know, while we're quiet at the moment, before we start presenting, now's probably a good time to ask any questions. I can't see the chat, but Jackson one will relay them. So any more questions, go ahead.
I have a question for Luca. Is it a bit better now? I seem to be quite loud, apparently.
Yeah, you're loud and clear to me, Jax. You could probably back away from your mic a little.
Because I was a bit too loud, so I pushed my laptop down it's on my
I can turn
feet.
both your audios down a little bit.
Yeah, that's better. Okay, that's good. Yeah, we'll use that.
Mine looks probably just slightly lower than yours, but I keep up on it, and I'll add a bit more to mine because it's definitely lower than yours too. Oops, wrong thing. Yeah, mine's about 7.5 or something there now. It's just about hitting the green yellow bit in OBS. But I'm not talking too loud anyway for a reason. But as long as it can hear me, that's fine. How many people are in the chat
now? A bit more. Yeah. Can you turn me down at all, FPV?
I can turn both you down to match me if you want.
Yeah, because...
Yeah, about there now is roughly where it's shown on OBS on mine for you two.
Okay.
You do yours as well. I want to do a quick voice check.
Check.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Okay.
So how many chatters we got in, and do we have any questions off them?
Lucas said, sun and moon in the same layer, or is the sun a few layers above?
Ooh, has Luca not seen your layers video?
I don't know, but we can play it real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, give me a second.
Unless he wants the quick answer, but no, we'll play it so it looks good, doesn't it? It's always nice to see it. And hello again, all you chatters. I've no idea who's there or how many's there, but hello anyway. I can't see you at the moment. But yeah, the next time I'm going to use my laptop and use that to watch the watch page. We weren't as organised tonight as we should have been, and we expected a bit more out of this software that we use in this app, but it is what it is, and we'll continue on. They wiped us out last week, but this week at least we're live again and communicating. I think one's gone to the next state for that video.
Okay. There we go. Ready?
Yeah. That full volume one, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll just mute.
So today we're going to go through the atmospheric layers, which we now refer to as the Atmos planes.
You better mute one.
When we read through these and some of the traits they possess, we can see exactly what resides in each layer. We will redefine what mainstream calls these layers, as well as their functions. Layer 1, the tropoplane, which is about 6 to 7.5 miles high, or 32,000 to 39,000 feet. The word tropoplane is derived from the Greek tropos, meaning turn towards, and change, reflecting the fact that rotational turbulent mixing plays an important role in the tropoplane structure and behavior. Most of the phenomena associated with our day-to-day weather occurs in the tropoplanes. It is heated from below by latent heat, which is heat required to convert a solid into a liquid such as water to vapor, by long-wave radiation, which is electromagnetic radiation emitted from the Earth, and from sensible heat, which is similar to a coil on a stove. The heat rising from the spiral below in specific areas, coming up at angles. You're going to find that everything mainstream talks about is wandering off into half-truths. The sensible heat they refer to is coming from the cones of the halos or the accelerators. In this first layer, we not only find our daily weather and clouds, but also hot air balloons, and this is where tornadoes are produced. These are more than likely produced by the halos that have been identified as the lunar wave. Layer 2, the tropopause, which is the boundary between the tropoplane and the stratoplane, with heights of about 4 miles to 11.5 miles, which is 21,000 feet to 60,500 feet. In this layer, we find aircraft travel. Measuring the temperature change through the tropoplane and the stratoplane identifies the locations of the tropopause. In the tropoplane, the temperatures decrease with altitude. In the stratoplane, however, the temperature remains constant for a while and then increases with altitude. This layer is the coldest layer of the atmosplanes, where lapse rate changes from positive in the tropoplane to negative in the stratoplane. Thus, the tropopause is an inversion layer, and there is little mixing between the layers here. An inversion layer is a gas of electrons or holes formed at a surface by an electric field. This stems from the two-dimensional nature of the electron gas imposed by the surface potential well and the direct electrical control of the carrier concentration and Fermi energy. At low temperatures, the inversion layer is electrically decoupled from the bulk and possesses considerable advantages for the investigation of transport phenomena. This is likely where the majority of the ice particles reside. This layer is allowing it to be an equilibrium layer, a neutralized layer where no mixing occurs. Layer 3, the ozone layer. This is about 20 miles high, or 105,600 feet. Ozone is a pale blue gas that condenses to a dark blue liquid at negative 112 degrees Celsius, or negative 170 degrees Fahrenheit. And finally, a violet black solid at negative 193 degrees Celsius, or negative 315 degrees Fahrenheit. Ozone alone explains the blue color of the sky. Ozone is a pale blue gas, but in the lower stratus plane, where ozone layer is situated and where it is very cold, it's probably a deep blue liquid. The dust and other particles in the troposplane dilutes this deep blue, and thus we see a light blue sky. As night comes and it gets colder without the sun, we get our violet black color to the sky. This light layer is likely where ice particles reside also. This layer is absorbing the biologically harmful radiation from the luminaries, which can cause cataracts, immune system suppression, genetic DNA damage, and can result in such problems such as skin cancer. Layer 4, the stratoplane, residing between 9.32 miles and 37.28 miles, or around 40,000 feet to 164,000 feet high. In Latin, strata means a cover. The stratoplane is stratified, which is layered in temperatures, with warmer layers higher and cooler layers closer to our surface. This region is of intense interactions among radiative, dynamical, and chemical processes in which horizontal mixing of gaseous components proceed much more rapidly than does the vertical mixing. Stratoplanic circulation is a wave-driven circulation that is induced by the wave force by the westward propagating Rossby waves in a phenomenon called Rossby wave pumping. This is the pumping of vortice waves from east to west. This layer has a blanketing effect, also referred to line blanketing, which is the enhancement of the red or infrared regions of the spectrum. In this layer, the moon resides and is pushed with this east to west waveform and interacting with the red wave, giving us our eclipses. This red wave is known as Ketu by ancient knowledge. This is also why the moon halo appears larger than the sun halo, due to the proximity of the layer to the surface. It is the first and closest luminary to our surface. We consider it to be residing at the top part of this layer. Layer 5, the stratopause, resides 31 to 34 miles, or around 169,000 feet high. This is the region where maximum temperature occurs at the top of the stratopause. These pause layers are layers that reside in between halo activity above and below, and forces this layer to neutralize. These are neutral layers which have canceled the opposing forces from above and below out. Layer 6, the mesoplane, residing at 30 to 50 miles, or 142,000 to 262,467 feet high. The main features in this region are strong east to west winds, atmosplanic tides, gravity waves. This layer is an electromagnetic layer that opposing forces of the positive and negatives are pushed up and down to reach their full electrical potential. This layer is the region of ionization, which is only present during the day. When night falls, the source of ionization is removed. The free electron and ions form back into neutral molecules. In this layer, there is a distinct type of aurora. This has been referred to as dunes due to the resemblance of sandy ripples on a beach. The green undulating lights extend towards the equator. This aurora begins in the mesoplane and is about 60 miles high, or 315,000 feet high. This aurora is occurring due to the neutral nature of the mesoplanic layer. These high oscillating particles have yet to receive either a male, positive, or a female, negative charge. Walter Russell would refer to this as a bisexual line in nature. In this layer, we also have the red sprites and the blue jets, which are electrical discharges. Again, the separation of the spectrum shows us the neutral nature of the particles in this layer. At 50 to 65 miles high, or 262,000 to 344,000 feet, we have a 3-mile thick layer of unbound, non-ionized sodium layer. This layer radiates weakly to contribute to what is called the air glow. Layer 7, and the last layer we will look at today, is the thermoplane. This layer is the largest of all the atmosplanic layers, beginning at about 50 miles up. This runs from 262,467 feet through 1,600,000 feet high and can reach temperatures of 4,500 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 2,482 degrees Celsius. Taking its name from the Greek thermos, meaning heat, and if we recall from past information I have spoken about, heat is simply how fast the energy particles are oscillating. Within this layer is where the sun and all the processes involved reside. At these altitudes, the gases sort into a strata, which is a layer of material layered in parallel layers, one on top of the other. These are horizontal layers. The temperature increases with altitude in this layer, but are highly dependent on solar activity. The radiation is causing the particles in this layer to become electrically charged particles. The dynamics of this layer are dominated by atmosplanic tides, which are periods of oscillation. In many ways, they are comparable to ocean tides and are excited by day and night cycles. The sodium band that resides in this layer has about 400,000 atoms per cubic centimeter and is regularly replenished by meteors. If we recall the subject of meteors from past discussions, meteor showers are stemming from specific constellations at the same time each year and repeatable every year. This is a static buildup that must release during its cycle. In this layer, we also have solar XUV radiation, which is radiation that causes ionization and dissociation. This is where the particle receives its positive or negative charging, and the extent of the molecule dissociates is how well the conduction and electricity can occur. The solar radiation maximizes at the equator during the equinox and has a 27-day cycle of solar activity as well as an 11-year cycle. Another function in this layer is the solar wind. This mechanism is where geomagnetic field lines are essentially vertically directed. An electric field is generated and directed from dawn to dusk. So obviously nothing is to scale here. This is just to show you how we perceive the layers working. These are restricted to layers in cubes. The spheres that mainstream refer to may come from the star halos. The inner one was identified as Noah in our End Times Revelations 2. This is what they would look like with their rainbows, which we know now are created by all the halos. We hope you can see how ridiculous it is for aircraft to fly over a spherical, rotating world. We live on a stationary plane here, folks.
Lovely, that one. Can you keep it paused there, one, where you've got them before it goes to the rainbow part, so we can see all the different layers? Got a few bits to add to that for you. And by the way, the stream key is showing, so don't admit anyone at all onto the panel from now on.
Okay.
Not that they can do much, but you know, it's easy for someone to fake being a team member and might get in and cause disruption. But yeah, if you can rewind it a little bit so we can see the layers and just pause it there. Right, so the layers you can see there, people, what you're going to notice in our research is we actually place different halos in different layers. And this is down to the size of their cones. The cones are actually placing them in the sky on the top of their cone. For example, the 6 halos you can see on the grid there, you know, the widest one you can see on the outside, that would put a luminary the highest in the sky, because it's the outermost and biggest one, so that it's going to have a larger cone. So it's the diameter of the halo that dictates the altitude the luminary is going to be at. Plus, not to mention the layers they are in below. You know, just because it's higher than one doesn't mean it's the one next to it's smaller. Got a smaller, it might actually be a bigger one, but be deeper down. So there's a few things down below we're not 100% on yet. But that's how the halos work. Their cone is coming from both sides of the halo and coming up to a cone in the centre and placing these luminaries where it's placing them. So with the likes the sun and moon here, like one said, you know, their cones are putting them at those altitudes and moving them east to west and then returning them back. Another thing you're going to notice in the layers is clouds moving in different directions, and this is due to them being electrically attracted to the nearest halo that's activated in their layer. That's why you see them moving at different directions and speeds. I've noticed that myself. When you're looking at clouds, you'll notice some of them start to speed up and then they all seem to intersect at a certain point. And in a video I made on the Glastonbury tour, I showed some local angels, rainbows near where I live. And you could see they were all intersecting into the centre of this rainbow. So there's more information for you guys. It gives you an idea what's going on in these layers. Hope that helps. You can stop presenting that now if you want more. Maybe just some extras for the layers for people to get their heads around what's going on in these layers, and it's all down to the angels' halos in the layers, what's taking place, and why you're seeing clouds travelling in different directions. So there you go, Luca. The sun is higher up in the layers than the moon, which is why when Conscience said the moon's halo appears larger, it's just because it's lower down in the layers. So it could mean the sun's halo is larger than the moon's because it is projecting it higher. So we've got to consider that below. Is the moon's lower in the atmosphere due to its scale of its halo, or is it down to its depth in the underworld where it's actually projecting it from? So there's those considerations to look into, but that's how it works.
Mellow Earth said earlier, I'd love an explanation of what the 6 rhombi are.
If you look at the grid, you'll see there's 6 circles, 6 squares, and 6 rhombi. That's what makes up this grid, and in 3D that grid makes a 6-tier pyramid with concentric circles. So what you're looking at is a very large-scale pyramidal structure in the underworld that all this technology is basically inside of. Then the 666, the 6 squares, 6 circles, 6 rhombi actually refers to that grid we're working with, as well as other things, as you know, like CERN, which is still, it's all still connected. But that's what it's referring to in our view on the grid. We've got 6 squares, 6 circles, 6 rhombi, and that's what makes up that Nazca mandala. That one right there. So we look at 6 concentric circles, then you've got the rhombi, and then the squares which make the grid. It's a 12 by 12 grid as well. Pretty unique, 144,000 right there. It's amazing how all this ties in with these numbers. But that's what we refer it to, but it can be applied to other things because this technology does have a 666 kind of configuration. When you look at how these halos overlap and actually work, that's where the 666 comes from, like CERN. There's more than one halo involved in this. One is connected to more, as you'll see with rainbows. They all interconnect and they're all different sizes, so they're all got different layers that they operate in. And if you remember the Schumann resonance decode from last week or the week before, was it? It shows you've got a thick band of them quite low down in the layers, which is these are the ones that create your local weather basically. All your everyone's weather is local. By that I mean it's technology local to you, under your feet, that's causing it. These are the causes of the weather phenomenon. What we call nature is governed by this technology. All our weather patterns, everything. A good word for them is atmosphere processors. That's just one role that they do, and they process in our atmosphere. If these didn't exist, I don't think we'd be here. We wouldn't exist. This would be a horrible place to live, or trying to live. We are in sync with this technology, and it's basically a life support machine for all the living creatures in this world. It is a creation. Now, a lot of people ask us about God and the Creator. Let's make a distinction here. In the ancient times, the Creator was called the Creator. The word God crept in round about when man was starting to write books. And the word God crept into it, and if you look at the Bible and books like that, it will tell you God is light. So what the creator of this construct's doing is showing mankind how to work with light, which is electricity. Now you can get into atoms, particles, all these arguments that you hear about, you know, what is in the atmosphere, what is the ether? Well, it is particles of light. And there's loose particles. What we've found is there's lives, neutrals and earths, and they're all transmutable. They can all be, you know, switch polarity easily. This is how it works. The same with alternating currents. You know, the Milky Way generates an alternating current right across the plane. And what the angels do is they vertically extract that electricity from that magnetic path that's in the sky that we call our Milky Way. It's electromagnetism, because electricity is always in 90 degrees to magnetism. So it's an easy rule for the angels to reach up there, grab those positives from above, and Eve brings the elements from below. That's how it works. Eve's the inductor, or the induction coil, and Adam is the conductor. There's always an equal and opposite. These two are equals and opposites. This is the duality of nature. It's the equal and opposite polarities. This is how nature really works. So when they mention nature's duality, this is what actually refers to. It's the Adam and Eve story. It's their opposing polarities that create what we call nature. But amazing stuff when you look at how technology is involved in this. And technology's always been around mankind, as far back as we can see. We can see man's always tampered with or played with technology, and it's always come from the knowledge of this construct. Our ancestors knew all this. They knew more than we'll ever know. They were taught this in their schools in their times, and that information's been eroded and sabotaged and rewritten to hide it all. This has been going on for some time. There's an entity that's taken over the free world that's directly involved with hiding and stealing the Creator's glory, and they've done every attempt possible that you can think of to try and hide it. But you can't hide this. You can't hide what it is. It's so obvious. We always work it out, people. So I hope that answers the question on the rhombi and the grid and a few other things. So, you know, like I've said before, we are the rainbow warriors of our time. We're the people that work it out. And we re-educate the world and fix it. Well, we try to. This is what we're trying to do now. For the past 5 years, we've been trying to tell the world what this world is and how it works, and it's just never stopped. We're scratching the surface on every topic you could imagine over the past 5 years that relate to how this works. So, you know, that's when you become very knowledgeable at explaining this, because you have done the time and you've worked with it. You know what you're talking about. This is not ego. This is not bullshit. This is reality. Reality is not a religion. You want a religion? A globe's a religion. That's a religion. So, and what we're calling religion today, it is an entity's way of you giving your approval of them representing and taking full control over this knowledge that every culture out there used to depict.
Mellow Earth says, people who cherish evil energy like to flash the 666, but 666 seems to be a sacred number. The hack that was done in the story of creation is deep. Lucifer, then, could be seen a veil for the creator.
Well, 666, like I said, if you look at CERN's configuration, you know, it shows you the 3 sixes. So they're not. It's not satanic worship what they're doing. They're actually just bragging. They know what it all means. They understand what it means the same as we do. We know what it means. We've worked it out. You know, we can see what it all relates to. They're just bragging and hiding it, and yeah, you know, that's where they're at. They have these ceremonies where it's blatantly obvious it's the technology that they're bragging about, where they've got to, you know, where they've got in their career of stealing, hiding it and stealing it and reverse engineering it. And it is being used in the real world today, this technology. like we've showed with Walter Russell's motor, is a fusion reactor. So is the pyramid. So is the Colosseum. They're all fusion reactors. The niches in the pyramid, the way the Colosseum's configured, and you'll even see that in sacred geometry. It's all the same thing. This nuclear technology has always been here. It's always been part of us. It's part of our genetic makeup. It's part of how the elements get created. The angels create it. They convert elements into matter. That matter's fallen out of the sky, and we're calling it shooting stars and comets and, you know, all this kind of stuff. It's this technology doing it. Always has and always will. So it's going to be a shock to the system for people of religious beliefs, because you've been brought up believing all these characters in your book to be real people, when in fact they're all personifications of this technology below. Throughout time this has been happening as far back as we can look, like Dionysus, Adam and Eve, Isis and Ra, all these names. It's always the male, female. Jesus and Mary is no different. It's this technology it's referring to.
So the matter coming from the sky and from below, from the two angels, from the halos, it could actually be insect life as well.
Yeah.
You get the plagues of locusts.
Well, there was an experiment. I mentioned it in one of our old videos, Jax. I think it was
Yeah,
in the 1800s.
I was going to do a standard. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, cover it one, Jax. You know, if you can find more info on it,
Yeah,
it's worth putting out there. It's definitely worth, you know,
yeah,
investigating further, because I mean, even your holy books tell you, people, angels created man. It's not lying. We are designed in this technology's image.
yeah.
Being
created.
People's going to get a shock when they realise how very much alike we are to this technology. Like I said, without it, we wouldn't be here.
It makes me think of the orcs in Lord of the Rings being pulled from the mud, fully formed. You know?
Yeah, it shows in lots of movies.
But yeah,
doesn't it?
there's in Victorian times, this guy was experimenting with magnets, and he was just experimenting with magnets and crystals, and this insect appeared out of nowhere. It just appeared, and he ran the experiment again, and it came again, and he ran it lots of times, used different types of crystals, different types of stones, different types of earth. Didn't seem to matter. Studied them, and he went to Daniel Faraday, I think it was, and he was fascinated with it, and he took it to the Royal Society, and they presented it, and then it disappeared. The knowledge just disappeared because they were showing that with certain magnetic currents, life is created. It's just crazy. They called it the Icarus. Yeah, I got a little bit fascinated by it for a while. So yeah, I'll do a little video on that.
Yeah.
But anything that's really important that gives the game away, they just hide the knowledge. They just bury it. Yeah. It's around, but you've got to dig about to find. And then when you find it, it disappears. A lot of the stuff that I've looked at in the past is all gone now off the internet.
Yeah, so it shows, you know, there's probably
replaced by a whole load of new stuff.
There's probably algorithms tracking what you're watching. You know, we know they put scanning you and trying to watch what you're doing. So yeah, anything you're looking into and making sense, it makes sense they would remove it. So I mean, you've always got that Wayback Machine you can fall back on for things on the internet as well, that get removed. It's probably you'll probably find a lot on there that you wouldn't find now on the net.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, so you know, sites like that's probably worth a look for this kind of work anyway.
Ataris, yeah, Squirrel's saying it's Ataris. I said Icarus.
Hello, Squirrel. Can't see you, mate. I can't see anyone in chat, but hello, everyone.
Yeah, Squirrel's here.
I didn't click a button because something will go wrong here.
Have you tried taking up his cross? Says, I wish I had a better understanding of this channel. It seems like a cool channel. Angels are one of my favorite subjects.
And me. I was always hoping there were going to be real angels in the sky in some way, but I think they personified the way these clouds look. I think, like everything else, they stuck faces on and made them into human beings,
I think,
I do believe there is a spiritual connection as well. I am big on that, but not for this show.
when you think about it, in ancient times, this is probably how it was taught. This is Adam, this is Eve, because they've got to define the male and female aspects of this technology. Like, like the male's got the left-hand rule, and the female's got the right-hand rule, and how they interact together. And I suppose they have to give it a name. This one's, say this one's Isis. This is a big halo. She's electromagnetic. This one's Ra. This one's Osiris. This one's electric. And it's got a flow going the opposite way to the other halo. So this is how this technology works. They've got counter-rotating flows that overlap and create something very special with electromagnetics. Very clever stuff. The most amazing science I've ever seen in my life. And it's not that hard to understand it either. I understand this more than what what mainstream science talks about. I can't understand their science because obviously it's not real. This makes more sense,
don't they?
Yeah,
they sort of they stay blinded by science, don't they? I mean, it's just impossible to listen to it for too long. It's just so dry.
That's what One Conscience is good at. She look at what they're saying, she looks at what we're proving and we're working on, and gives it the correct terminology. So we're like a link between the lies and the truth, aren't we? We're we're guiding people back to where the truth is. Because we are the Rainbow Warriors of our time. We know what we're doing.
Yeah, decoding the bullshit.
Yeah. Right, I think I'll present Operation Ptolemy. Would you two like to meet while I present this? It won't be on to very long.
Okay.
And fingers crossed I don't press the wrong button on something. Right. Where's this at? There it is. Hopefully you can see that, yeah? Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome to APM Research Operation Ptolemy. Operation Ptolemy is a simple observation and experiment you can try for yourself. Ptolemy's model reigned supreme for around 1600 years, until the Copernican model arrived around the 1600s reset event. Now, Ptolemy's model contained epicycle motions of certain luminaries, our planets, the Sun and the Moon. If you take a look at this animation, this is how some people think the Sun moves, and that is mainly due to what the Sun appears to be doing when time-lapsed. It appears to make a corkscrew motion, but this is incorrect. We have featured these epicycles in all the works, and Sandra captured it here in this video. It is the rotation of the halo that the Sun is a part of that is creating these epicycle motions. The Sun just follows it as it is part of that configuration. This is what their chem planes are trying to hide by drying up moisture and ice crystals in the atmosphere and interfering with their precipitation processes. Because we have come to find that the Sun, water droplets and ice crystals actually help reveal electromagnetics on a scale that can only match what is described in holy books and creation stories when decoded correctly. To capture the Sun epicycling, simply record it or time-lapse it for around 1 hour. When reviewing your recording, put a line through the centre of the Sun at the start of the recording and a line through its centre at the end of the recording, so it shows you the Sun's path. When you play this video, it should reveal its epicycle motions. Now, a lot of people seem to think the Ptolemaic model relates to a circular map, but it does not. It is not a great circle it is referring to. If you listen to certain holy books, or the Book of Enoch, it's a great circuit, and the circuit that it's referring to is the circuit you see in our grid. The Great Circuit. It's referenced in, I'm sure it's in the Book of Enoch. It is the largest concentric circles you see on the grid we are using. These are blueprints I decoded from the Nazca lines that match Enoch's descriptions of the portals, which are gates in the north, south, east and west, and also their angles in relation to one another. This grid is a blueprint of the construct, and the Nazca lines are schematics of various technologies that are in the underworld, which is also referenced throughout our history in many forms and depictions, often personified or using species of creatures. And on screen, what you're seeing is, these epicycle motions. This would be it coming towards you, and you would capture that kind of motion, which does look like a corkscrew. But when you look at the motion of the halo the sun is attached to, the sun's got no choice but to follow its motion. So the halo is actually epicycling below ground, and we're seeing what's taking place in the sky. This is, the sun halo, ice crystals, it'll reveal all this. And this would be a top-down view, studying it. So depending on your angle, you're going to get different aspects of these epicycle motions showing. These are just some samples to show you what you would expect to see. Not that I'm expecting any of you to be above it looking down, but this is what you would expect to see, these kind of motions. Now, obviously, this is not to scale either, but this is, this is what you would actually see them doing across here. And the reason I've got this on screen at the moment is because I'm also going to show you our solar eclipse. Because now you can see that the sun's in a higher layer than the moon. We're going to get into the solar eclipse, which I've never released before because I was still studying it in between doing other research. But that there's just to show you one is above the other, and this is what takes place with a solar eclipse. Now, if you see these two epicycling across the sky like this is what's really taking place with them. And if you look at the eclipse images at the bottom there, you can see all these curved lines, those curve, and this is why, because they've got their own paths that they have to follow. If you look on the screen, you'll see the eclipse in there, but take it from me, anytime these two are in the sky, there is eclipses every day. You're just not in the right place to see it. But these will eclipse every day, they're both in the sky. We're going to go a bit deeper on that as well, with Ra and Ketu. In fact, I'll bring that into it now, because while you watch that, what's taking place there. So this animation's to show you what's taking place with these eclipses. So this is the solar eclipse. So obviously the sun's higher up in the layers. This is a top-down view, and you can see how the moon would eclipse it and cause these curved paths that they follow. You can actually see this on some eclipses as well. If you watch the shadows on the eclipses, you'll see them coming in from one angle and leaving from a completely different angle. Well, that angle change is these epicycle motions you're actually seeing in the shadows. Now, on the subject of Rahu and Ketu, from our research now, the small halo being Adam is the head, and the large halo is Eve. So that's the head and the body. Both of these two create electromagnetism. Now, this technology, you can switch the head off and the body. As we mentioned in older decodes, there is off switches that will switch the sun off and the halo. So as the sun crosses the sky, say, we see the sun halo, but when it returns back, the sun is shut down. So they switched off the head or cut off the head, but we're still seeing the part of the body that is part of that projection system. I use the word projection lightly because it's not really a projection. It does have a physical presence in the atmosphere. It's just elevated there because of magnetism and electricity being in opposition. Very clever science. It's not that hard to understand it once you study it. Amazing. It's the most amazing science I've ever come across. So that was Operation Ptolemy, people. You can go out and take your camera outside, film the sun. Just leave your camera static, film the sun crossing the screen for about 45 minutes to an hour. Analyze your footage and try and put a straight line from the middle of the sun at the start of the recording and fast forward it to the end and put the line going through the end, and you will see how the sun creates this motion, how it goes back and to over this central point. Like the animation shown in the top right there, it's got no choice but to move with the halo. It's just part of something else, and these are what Ptolemy's epicycles referred to. They obviously were very well aware of what these epicycles were and what created them. So our ancestors, the ancients, were no dummies people. They had this studied and mapped out long before we ever did. And we were being taught this. You can see this everywhere. It's in every culture's history. They just, worded it differently, different names for it, or a different name from that culture for the same thing another culture's talking about. You would not be out of place studying another culture's sacred geometry and marveling at it, because it all represents the same technology. It's just different ways of depicting it. So there's a little project you can do, people. Just go outside and film the sun doing its epicycle motions. That's exactly what it's doing, and that's our official release now. What's taken place with the solar eclipse? It happens because the moon's in a lower layer. It's as simple as that. And they will eclipse every day. You're just not in the right place to see it taking place. You just only see it when they're in close proximity to each other. So that's Operation Ptolemy, people. Good luck, and let us know how you get on with your recordings of it.
Have you tried taking up his cross? Says, I see some great things in the cloud formations and the stars I love. When I focus on them, they move. Does anyone have an opinion of what they think about that? What are the stars?
We've covered the stars in all the videos. All I can say is recommend is watching our 144,000 video, because I made an animation in there that replicates what the stars are actually doing perfectly. So take a look at the 144,000 video, and it's the star trails part of it you want to look at, and you'll see what's creating these motions. It's these halos that do it. Stars are nodes on halos. And the scale,
And not very far away.
No, they're not far at all.
And if you want to get technical, which I'm going to show this video later, but what science says the stars are doing, the effects of stars, technically speaking, first, the fluid must be electrically conducting. Second, the magnetic field has to be present, possibly as a relict of the initial formation of the body. And third, some force has to be introduced to cause the twist in the fluid motion, so that the initial magnetic field becomes distorted by the motion. That's a technical.
Okay.
And in religious or books, if you want to call them religious, you look at the book of Noah. Noah's one of these halos. You'll see a decode of that in, I think it's our End Times 2 Decoded video. Well worth a look, and I'm pretty sure it linked in somewhere to the receding ocean events in 2017, where you see these halos intersecting land on our map and grid. In 2017, all these areas suffered, well, not suffered, but they had receding ocean events and alarms for tsunamis returning, but there was no return of tsunami. The water slowly came back in over days or possibly weeks. So, it was an event, an unheard of event before that. Well, it's probably happened before, but we don't have the history on it. But it's the mechanisms of these star halos starting up to do their reset role.
FPV.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that you're doing this Operation Ptolemy, because I'm poised on an obsession with Ptolemy at the moment. I can feel an obsession with him going on, because I became interested in him because of my interest in astrology and alchemy recently.
Mm-hmm.
And he was responsible for the current zodiac that we use in the Western world.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know why. What was it about? Why did he do this fixed 30 degree each constellation? I wanted to know what it was all about. So I started to look at that, and then found out all this other stuff about Ptolemy, how he considered all of the luminaries, the sun, the moon, all of the planets, and every star to have attributes, and that they affect the weather. When one is in close proximity to another, you could the attributes of one, Mercury, is hot and dry equally, which makes it quite an unusual
planet. The sun is always hot, the moon is moist, and each one has a different attribute. And when they come, and I thought, whoa, this is the sort of thing I've been thinking about. This is what's happening. And I thought, well, if they're affecting us like this, they can't be that far away.
No.
Nothing that's all these zillions of light years away is going to be affecting our local weather. That's crazy. So they're not far away, and I'd already been thinking that they're not far away. And now I'm trying to tie it in. But he thought the Earth was stationary, and he never admitted to it being a sphere. He said, he actually said some sort of quote, that it appears as a sphere, as on the whole. It's like very vague. He didn't never, and of course, what we have that they're saying is Ptolemy is not the Ptolemy that they have. They will have removed and changed a lot of his stuff, and also it's very vague who he actually was. There's no real information about when he was born, and most of the information about him comes from his actual works. So I'm sort of reading the book properly, because the book I've got steers away from the mathematics and looks at his philosophy, because he did believe that the stars influence and planets do influence us as well, and cause illnesses and all sorts of stuff. So it's really interesting stuff. It really is. I haven't got to epicycles yet.
Well,
I'm still plowing away through the history at the beginning, but I will get there.
There's a
I
little
keep
heads up on the
dipping ahead,
epicycles then.
yeah, it's quite a tough read, but there's no mathematics in it.
Yeah.
They cover the math side of it, but he does say himself that because he considered mathematics to be the highest discipline, but he does say himself that man should never. Hang on, I actually did the quotation because I thought it was wonderful. He says, Ptolemy regarded mathematical astronomy as the best kind of theology which is available to man. He did recognize limitations to man's comprehension of the divine, which he voiced in chapter 2 of book 13 of the Syntaxis, where he cautioned against the inappropriateness of comparing man-made mathematic constructions with the divine.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying no matter what we figure out, it's probably not right.
Or he's actually warning you, people's trying to line about this globe.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's telling you.
Because now we know there's, the rainbow, for people that aren't aware of what we've decoded with the rainbow, the rainbow sits on top of a sphere, which is half below ground and half above. Now that sphere is the Torus field of each angel, and they come in different sizes, as you'll find in our videos. Now, there's another sphere, see, that people can relate to. We've got one now we can relate to. They're trying to relate all spheres that the ancients talk about as to a globe, when in our research, put your APM eyes on, no, it's not talking about the shape of the world, it's talking about these spheres that we see and call rainbows. So, well, the sphere below rainbows. The rainbow is the spectrum refracting and reflecting from the electromagnetic field of that angel. That's what what we're seeing is its Torus field, and the diameter of it, the rainbow dictates the diameter, which is of course now is caused by the width of the halo. So that's why they come in different sizes. Yeah, so it makes more and more sense, doesn't it? So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. Jack, dig up what you can on Ptolemy. Fantastic, fantastic work he's done. Yeah, definitely.
It's giving me more of an understanding of
well, you're more star related researcher than I am, so better you look at it than me. I'll just look at what they're explaining.
The sky,
things
that I see, and I'm just convinced that a lot of what I am seeing is basically space. What they're calling space, millions and zillions of miles away, isn't all that far away.
It's the
really
ether.
Upside down.
It's the ether. It's transmutable, and it's all local and close. We don't know the actual altitudes of things, but you can gauge that, I suppose, by measuring the distance of these halos. The diameter of these halos is what dictates the altitude they're at, really.
And we're also very limited because of our eyesight. We've got these globe eyes, so it's I don't even know
how they work. They tell us how they work is how they work. We don't know that. I mean, they say that it's screened in our heads, and how do they know that?
Ayn on the subject, Jax, of causing us ailments, the luminaries. Well, that's true. The word influenza.
Radiation, definitely.
Yeah, influenza. It means it's influenced by the luminaries. That's because of the induction and conduction processes, and we're in between it all taking place. So, the human condition called flu is nothing more than mild radiation sickness caused by Adam and Eve's activations.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's causing our flus.
And it makes me wonder if all these houses that are around and a lot of them together, really close together and big and all rooms, it seems, if we weren't living more indoors and outdoors because we were well aware that we were damaged and aged by the sun, and now we're encouraged to go out and get brown and walk around with hardly any clothes on in the summer. But at one time everybody was, wearing loads of clothes and indoors all the time. Maybe they walked through the houses and streets and things weren't really a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there were more waterways than streets, like some of these European cities that you see, like Venice.
Yeah. Plus, a lot of the imagery we see is after the previous reset.
It's such a mess. So it's such a mess, though, isn't it? I think they're still clearing up from one half the time when something happens and messes it all up again. And it's all these different styles. A lot of the buildings, it's just all bits. It's like wedding cake. It's just icing a cake and then taking the icing off and put something else on, and all these different things that they go through, these Baroque and Gothic phases and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And quite often it's just the same building, been there for ages, just probably some plain brick thing.
They just when the Romans invaded everywhere, according to the mainstream, they built everything here, and we were all like apes until they arrived. No, I don't think so. I think they just came and stole this after a reset.
I don't even know they were. It's just the Romans.
Look at the reset. Go back 400 years at a time in history. 1600s, 1200s, 800s,
Romans
400s.
Could be a
smart.
Generic term.
So they're the ones that reset the calendar.
Loads of different peoples. Loads of different warriors and people that came, and they just ended up calling them the Romans. Let's just call them the Romans. We'll tell them it was the Romans. It was in the Monty Python film, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What are the Romans giving us? Just about bloody everything. I think that was a bit tongue in cheek.
Yeah, they give us nothing. They stole everything.
Yeah,
we had all this knowledge before they arrived. I can see that looking at our Celtic history. It's there.
Dilettantes.
Yeah, it's easy to invade a country after a reset. They're the weakest, so it's easy to walk in and take over, bash a few seals on the head, and give them new books to read and new religions to follow.
A phase. The Romans were a phase in many phases.
That's why people, religious people. I don't follow a religion. I'm not religious. There's no such thing as religion.
No, neither am I.
There's no such thing. So I don't know what you want to call it, but what they're putting in books is definitely not what's taking place in this world, and it's definitely done to hide it.
I've looked at loads of religions and been attracted to a few. I almost became Hare Krishna last year after meeting them at the London protest. I was really taken by it, but I decided it really wasn't for me. It was just too much hard work.
That's what you find, people.
But I like the chants. I still do the chants.
I can see why people would join a religion or a spirituality, because there's things that resonate with them, but they're still not getting the answers they're looking for.
Rastafarianism, I looked at that, and I tend to take bits from things, make my the religion of mine, Jack's religion.
Yeah.
With just a bit of this and a bit of that, but natural law is what I tend to follow. Yeah. When something's right or wrong,
I think when you found the
feel
truth.
It.
When you find the truth, don't you? Yeah, you feel it. It's more than just knowing. There's a feeling and other things you can't explain.
That's the one. Yeah. And you get like a disgust for some things, you just think, oh God, no. And a lot of society is doing that to me at the moment, and I'm sure it's doing it to a lot of us. It's very wrong, but
Well, it's part of
Here we all are,
it's part of
hanging
their
in there.
agenda. No breeding allowed, people. They don't want
Yeah.
people breeding because they're trying to do a reset. That's what's taking
Yeah.
place. And if you watch
Distracting is the process.
watch our end times videos, you'll see what takes place with human genetics during these reset cycles as well. Things can go quite wrong.
FPV Robert Pitt says, asking, do you believe that there could be more than just one moon and sun shown in different countries or land at the same time?
Well, it'd be easy to make, replicate the technology. We haven't proven there's more than one. The only way we can think of proving there's more than one would be like with the sun, capturing a sunset in, say, beyond Hawaii, while New Zealand are getting their sunrise and comparing the sunspots, because that's the only features you've got to compare, really, the sunspots, and see if they're the same.
Yeah, I've been thinking about when does the sun come up earliest
But
and when does it set latest?
if you watch our seasons video, you'll see how the sun goes across, then it returns back really quick, which Jimbo decoded as the sweepback transformer and flyback killer. So, it can get back very fast before the next sunrise. So there's no problem the sun getting to the west, shutting down and returning east ready for the next sunrise. And the Egyptian 12 gate story is exactly about that journey.
It's literally a spark.
Yeah, so, what they call in the ISS is actually Isis or Ra or Mary, or it's part of the sun halo configuration that's still illuminated, but the head has been switched off, which would be the sun halo, or the smaller halo, which would be Adam the male, the electric.
So it's not a physical thing.
The sun is, what's taking place below ground is physical. What's in the sky is
that's what I'm saying. What we see in the sky is a projection.
It's the spirits of the
beyond our understanding.
It's the spirits of the technology in the underworld. I'll tell you what. I'll present. Do you want to present one of your two videos, you two?
Pardon?
You've got some stuff to present, Jax, haven't you? And you and Wanners as well. Do you want to present one of your videos, you two?
Well, shall I get mine out of the way? We've been on an hour or so.
You still there, one?
Yeah.
I'm here.
Right, okay. Yeah, you just go for it, Jax, if you want. Present your video then that you've just made recently, if you want.
Well, we can have a chat about some of the points I'm making. Anyway, I sort of left it open. But yeah, I went to Salisbury Cathedral, and it was a sort of unplanned visit, so I didn't really know anything about the place. I'd never been there before. And it was really interesting. And of course, when I got home, I spent quite a lot of time doing research and just looking into it. And I became interested in how... is it up?
Yeah, it's popping up now. There it is.
Sound on?
Full screen of Jax, that's it.
I'm going to have to mute.
So here we are at Salisbury Cathedral, which is one massive, great, fantastical machine, and a marker for an angel. So under this here somewhere is going to be an angel machine. The spire is amazing. So it's been here for at least 800 years that we know of. The original Antiquitect will no longer be on the top of this. Completely amazing.
Right, we're going to go inside.
Well, hey guys. So yes, I went to Salisbury Cathedral, and it was very off the cuff, last minute decision to go and have a look. So I didn't really have a clue anything that was going on there. I've never been to Salisbury. I was quite surprised at how medieval a lot of the stuff is there. But while this is playing in the background, what I'm going to do is give you some information about the cathedral and some of the stuff that I found out. I'm going to go to Wiki for this. There is plenty of other information about, and I have been looking at it. So it's formerly the Cathedral Church of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and is an Anglican cathedral in Salisbury. It's regarded as one of the leading examples of early English Gothic, and the main body was completed in 38 years, from 1220 to 1258. Now, there's a small series of videos about Salisbury Cathedral by a guy called Jonathan Meads, who is an intellectual, a bit of a pundit, an iconoclast, and he was born in Salisbury and went to the Cathedral Church school, and has a very cynical take on this whole thing. And he said that the reason it was built in 38 years, which apparently is really a short period of time to build something like this, is because they had basically a bottomless pit of money. And on Wiki it tells you that it was the construction was paid for by donations, principally from the canons and vicars of South East England, who were asked to contribute a fixed annual sum. Well, maybe, but where do you think they got their money from? It was from the likes of me and thee, who didn't have a choice in the matter through tithes. They just took from the poor and just poured it into this place, and it is ostentatious and was from the start. It is like some sort of like over the top crazy place. And when you once you go inside, it's full of tombs, really ornate over the top tombs, and outside all these statues, many of which are fairly modern. There's a lot of plinths that are empty, and they've been replacing whatever was there since Victorian times mostly, so I don't know what was in the plinths before. Very interesting to find out what was going on in these niches, all these niches around. But let's carry on with a bit of information. The spire was built in 1320. It's 404 feet tall, and has been the tallest church spire in the United Kingdom since 1561, so I don't know what the tallest one was before that. You can actually go up the tower, and it's got original wooden scaffolding, it's saying. It's the largest cloister and the largest cathedral close. It's got a medieval clock. I didn't actually film that, but I will next time I go, because I will be going again. And what sort of interested me as much as anything else is that it was originally on a completely different site, 2 miles to the north, on an old hill fort at Old Sarum. And they decided to move the whole thing, and I think they probably did use a lot of the old stone as well. Down there, they just moved it. So the cathedral crossing, Old Sarum and Stonehenge, reputed to be aligned on ley lines. Although Clive I.L.N. Ruggles, I guess he's some sort of archaeologist, asserts that the site on marshland was chosen because a preferred site several miles to the west couldn't be obtained. Well, I just don't know. But what I do know is that this cathedral, which is absolutely huge, I mean, it really is. I mean, it's got, like, let's have a look at some of this spec here. 70,000 tonnes of stone, 3,000 tonnes of timber, and 450 tonnes of lead. built in 38 years, just absolutely crazy. On marshland. They built it on marshland. And a little bit of interesting info is that my daughter's partner, his family are Masons, and they do actually sort of have a family legend that they helped build Salisbury Cathedral, and that they had to put bales of hay down. I know they couldn't sink the stones very far because of the wet land. I mean, who builds a cathedral on marshland? So one of the explanations for this is that there were water courses, there was a river, so that they could ferry stones from further south. But I don't know, I just find the whole thing a bit strange. But the weight of the spire is so much, you can actually see it bending inside the cathedral. And Christopher Wren apparently had to use reinforced tie beams. Anyway, this old Sarum place, as I said, is a couple of miles to the north, and was a very, very busy, prosperous old Salisbury. And they built a great cathedral there, a royal palace. It was just very, very buzzy, and then for some reason they decided to move the cathedral. The priesthood got into fisticuffs with the militia, and they just moved away. And by about 1322, the whole place was over. It was gone. It's done. But the buildings of old Sarum were dismantled for stone, and its old town dwindled. I just find it very strange. Yeah, that's supposed to be here on the photograph here, the old cathedral grounds. I just don't know. This, obviously, to me, this old place seems to be the original marker, and they just sort of, I just find it such a strange story to move it. But the cloisters, these cloisters, as soon as I saw the cloisters, I just got a feeling that they were older than the cathedral. And if you look at the map of the cathedral, you can see that the cathedral itself, and they're very, very proud of the lines of the cathedral, how symmetrical it is, how beautiful it is, and then they stick these cloisters on the side. So I think that whatever was there before, I think there was probably a monastery there before, because it was an Anglican cathedral, it wasn't a Catholic cathedral. So they were, and it said that they built the cloisters for contemplation. And I really don't believe in this sort of like virtuous priesthood story. I can't see them wandering around cloisters in contemplative sort of meditation, especially if they've, considering they've been fisticuffing with the old Sarum lot not long before. I think it was there before. I think it's a relic of the old age, as does Jonathan Meades. He says it a little bit more obscurely. He's a little bit more obscure about his observations. He just says it seems to have come from a simpler, different time, and I think he's right. Yeah. So this thing here that's on the screen at the moment, this was a completely over-the-top carved, like with all these sorts of letters, statue, like some sort of like crypt thing with this guy on the top. It was covered in like almost like bloody hieroglyphics. It was so strange to see. This is a font, and these are army cadets, and this is a font that was put in the 1980s sometime, and it is constantly flowing over on the edges, so you can either dipped in it or you can have the on the head thing if you're baptised. There's some antiquitect here. This is original
but the date on one of them, it does say 17 something, I think, or 15 something. On this lower bit, 1709. So not original, I'd say. Yeah. So these cloisters are sort of my little thing. There's even 2 cedar trees there, 2 huge cedar trees, and it's, I just feel that the cloisters are the marker. I don't know why, I just got a feeling about these cloisters. They're from the old, whatever was there before. Monasteries were everywhere at one time. Anyway, I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of the video, and thanks for watching.
Is this the block you're going to be putting in? Yeah? You're a proper mason? Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking at the red brick behind. So it's all faced with red brick, all the stone faced onto the red brick? Yeah.
Yeah, there is brickwork in it.
Yeah.
I found that other place.
Smashing old building.
Yeah.
Lovely. Good trade you have there.
Nasty trees.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, my son-in-law's from the family of masons, but he's tree cutting these days. Still dusty. Have a good day.
So there you go.
Lovely that, Jax. Yeah, and nice observations. I would agree. I think the monasteries marked certain locations better than later times, and it looks like they've actually, admitted it and moved it back, doesn't it? Moved it to,
It's
moved
really,
it back to its proper location marker.
yeah, how that old Sarum was like such an amazing place, and it just all went to pieces. Within 100 years of the cathedral going, everything just, it lost its reason to be, as if it lost its oomph. So yeah, they moved it down there,
Yeah.
and Salisbury became a city from there. Well, I don't know if they called it a city. At one time, they used to say any place in the UK with a cathedral was a city, but it's changed since then, I think. But yeah, it was an interesting visit, and they're really, as soon as I walked in there, I was in the cloisters. When you go in, you sort of go into, and I could see this long way through, and I thought, wow. And you can really feel that it's really peaceful, and there's an energy to it. And then when you go in the church itself, it's a different energy, and the there's a whole bunch of people there who are real supporters of Salisbury Cathedral, and they run around after you and tell you little bits of information. I was looking at something, and because I was just looking, it was like the Blair Witch. I was just with my camera all through Salisbury and all around the cathedral. It's a good way of not interacting with people.
Yeah,
But
they
I could
keep
hear
away from you, don't
behind
they?
me talking to other people. But there was a lot of it, and because I was with the family, I couldn't hang about because I was being distracted by all the stuff in there because it's so opulent. And it wasn't like that. It's everybody pays to be buried in there, and then they even have their own little chapels. And Jonathan Meads talks about that, and then he also shows the Salisbury Cathedral enthusiasts talking about it. But it's a huge money-making enterprise. They got the gift shop with all the bits and pieces. It's £10 to get in, but you can go in free for a year with that one ticket, which is basically the sort of receipt you throw away with the rubbish,
Yeah.
So you've got to hold on to it and live in the area, otherwise you pay £10 to go in. And there were a fair few people in there. They do all the stuff. They have like special choirs going in, and their claim to fame was during the vaccination program, they were the first cathedral. No, they were the first one. I think it was one after Lichfield to open its doors to host the vaccination program, and the organist played hymns on the organ while people were. The mind boggles at what he may have been playing.
Yeah.
It's just.
That's taking advantage of people's religious
uh,
indoctrination, isn't it?
and also the love people have for the place, and they really do. These enthusiasts, they have like special people who volunteer to clean it all the time, and this huge workforce, and they open up early, and they're really it's crazy. They're really sort of into the place.
It's a lovely place to look at, that. It really is.
Yeah.
I noticed one of the images there had a rainbow over it as well.
Yeah, well, I showed John Constable's picture, but I have up here, I could just quickly present this. Hang on, let me go back. I don't have to mute because it's only, what do you call it? A search page. Tab.
What do you think of that one? Nice place, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I've never been there before. And of course, I've heard about Salisbury Cathedral loads of times. Salisbury Cathedral, photo rainbow. I think it's this one, yeah. So yeah, you Google Salisbury, well, DuckDuckGo, Salisbury Cathedral photo rainbow, and you get a lot of these photos coming up from John Constable, yeah?
Yeah.
And a few real ones, so...
Yeah, I wonder what's below there,
This is a real one. She talks about this one. It's on Flickr. It's a girl's picture. Christina Marsh. So yeah, she took that. So yeah, there's it's a marker, and there's your angel. There's your rainbow, your halo.
You can see
I
why
love rainbows.
you can see why they moved it now, can't you? It was obviously had it in the wrong
Yeah,
place.
yeah, and it's Mary. It's the Church of Mary,
Ah, yeah, that's that's the female, so it's marking the larger halo.
and they're quite big on Saint Michael there as well. Actually, they've got he's got his own little chapel thing going on.
He will
And,
be connected as a little Adam somewhere.
Right, has that come up?
We're still seeing a web page of the Salisbury Cathedral framed by a faint rainbow.
Oh right, okay. Well, the other one didn't come out. Don't worry
Just
about that.
click stop sharing and then start it again.
Yeah, yeah. Hang on a sec.
Yeah, so the cathedral is a marker for Eve, or the female larger halo. And should be a
Guess
smaller
people never
little Adam
sort of-
there.
I mean, people must think, oh, well, that's weird. They moved it here, or they don't think anything of it at all. But it just. And I want to go up to Old Sarum now and have a look. So yeah, this here, the Tate Gallery, launched this huge investigation into Salisbury Cathedral painting by Constable. This isn't the one that I found earlier, but I'm just going to mention it now because they reckon that his knowledge of rainbow theory and the interplay between scientific accuracy and artistic license and the depiction of the rainbow in Salisbury Cathedral from the Meadows has been put under the spotlight in an essay. He reckons that the solar geometry of his Salisbury rainbow was wrong. That he couldn't have done it. But a few other people proved it could be done, and he might have got the angle a bit high for artistic purposes. But a real to-who was done about it. But they were doing it from a solar perspective, so I don't know how that works,
Yeah. Well, the proof's in the pudding, really. Look at that lady's
Well, yeah,
photo.
it's there. It doesn't matter if it's at the right angle or not. I mean,
Yeah.
it happens.
And it will. Yeah, it depends where the sun is. With the angle, you're
They
going to
don't
see
do
the
about
rainbow.
anything. It's just you come across all this stuff when you're researching.
Yeah.
So, like when I was researching alchemy, I came across this essay, and I wish I could find it now, debunking the alchemist's theory that metals have a spiritual quality. And I thought, what?
Yeah. Well, everything
And then
has.
I couldn't find anything anywhere about metals having this extra spiritual quality. I thought because that would explain a lot.
Well, it does when you study Walter Russell's work.
Yeah.
His work will give it the spiritual quality you're looking for.
Yeah, well, there you go. See, so yeah, but their essay was debunking it, but I can't find it now.
Well,
But all these little things are clues on the way because you think, yeah, something else they don't talk about,
that's
isn't
mainstream
it?
trying to debunk it.
Yeah, copper, and people wear copper bracelets.
And hope
And
you
then
hope you rainbow warriors are paying attention about where these rainbows are getting located as well. Keep looking, people, keep mapping them, and keep us updated on your findings, and we'll keep adding it to the database and keep outputting these videos. I know a lot of people's doing it now, and they're taking the time and doing it right and trying to get things mapped correctly because now they know there's more than one involved. So that's a good sign. People's taking the time and doing a proper project of it.
Well, I think there's definitely one over our church here in Westbury. Definitely, because when it was here last, it was so close. It really was close. And I thought that looked very local. So, yeah, I'm going to have to watch the video again to work out how to map the coordinates because I'm okay with maps though.
Well, the church, consider the church to be like a node on a halo. You know, it's probably
Yeah.
sitting on top of a node for a
Yeah.
well, it's actually a pole. You know, it's when you look at the configuration of like the sun halo, they're all going to be the same kind of configuration. They've got like 8 nodes. It follows the rule of 8. So you got
Yeah.
north, south, north, south, north, south, north, south. It's the poles of these halos. It's actually marking.
Mm. It's an old church as well. They admit it's old, and there's some really interesting architecture up in the cemetery, which is a bit of a walk off from the church, which is odd. Strange layout in Westbury.
You can't help but fall in love with that geometry either, can you?
No, yeah.
It's
I know.
amazing the geometry you see everywhere. You just fall in
Oh,
love
it's
with it.
just, yeah.
You know it's more special than they tell you as well.
Oh yeah, that's and everything's got these 1800 dates on it, and I just think, everywhere, and it's like you want to sort of tell people. I used to tell people in London, about, especially where I was living. I did a lot of research on that place, and they were all really proud of them being Victorian. This Victorian estate, and I said that it's even older than that. I mean, it went underground. The proportion was wrong. It was everything about that place was wrong. It was really, it's supposed to be cottages, but rooms that were, you couldn't paint the ceiling unless you're on a ladder. It was just crazy, and yet pokey little rooms, and then they would go. Ooh, they were probably more like those canal houses that you see in Holland, in the Netherlands.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And places like that. And I think these really wide streets once waterways, because a lot of it, the estate that I was on, was built over a river. I did loads of work to do a presentation on that, and then 2020 struck, and I just left loads of it on ice. Loads of my work, I just lost my mojo with it for a bit. But I'm getting back out there.
Yeah, that's the main thing, getting back into it and decoding more bits and pieces.
Yeah, and you realise how much more you've picked up on the way, because you're sort of always looking, always observing, always sort of seeing clues and
it's always good to revisit all the work with new eyes, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I look at some of my old videos now and I can't remember making them. It's so strange. I think, oh, did I do all this research? Did loads of research about old London and read loads of bits of old books, and even the Stones of Venice. Because Google Books got some quite good books. And I sort of like look at the old archive stuff. I can never find anything.
Well, you've always been over the target when you look at your researcher. You've been looking for them clues and answers that were hidden.
Yeah.
You were probing it all and trying to make sense of it, yeah. As we all did, as we all did. I used to like looking at sacred geometry myself and, marvelling that it doesn't matter what country's sacred geometry you're looking at, it all decodes the same now, but, I used to think, why would they depict it like that and them like that? But when you look at them and realise how it really works, they're all pretty much similar.
Yeah.
So the ancients everywhere knew all this. They had to. It's impossible to hide it.
Yeah, you got some questions, FPV.
Yeah, sure. I can't see them, so someone will have to shout them out.
Jose said, hi, I'm working in a generator. Can you hint me on the mythology to extract it?
He's working on a water generator.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants what?
Hint the methodology to extract it.
Extract what?
I don't know.
Hello, Jose. Can you rephrase the question a bit better? I'm not sure what it is you're trying to extract.
We also have one. Please talk about the Lionsgate portal. That's tomorrow. What is it?
I know what that is. It's because the sun is moving from Cancer into Leo, and I think it takes 6 days. It might be 8 days. But tomorrow it's starting to move off into the part of Leo that is known as the Lion's Gate. And you might get some really interesting skies. And it's supposed to be a time where you set your intentions for the next year, and the energy is going to be fantastic. It usually is around about now. It's sort of moving from Cancer into Leo, the Lion's Gate. Yeah.
when I looked it up, it was an alignment. It said with
And there's the alignment happens. And I got a lovely sun halo one year, the upside down one. So maybe there might be some halos over the next few days. It'd be nice if there were. See the chemtrail panes out.
Well,
and I just looked it up a little deeper because I've noticed when there's alignments that larger quakes happen. So I just kind of took a peek for real quick to see, and we had quite a few. So there's been several earthquakes that happened on August 8th, which is about the date
Yeah.
that happens. So we had a magnitude 8 in 1303, a magnitude 8 in 1993, a magnitude 6.8 in 2017, and I kept reading, but I didn't want to keep writing it. But there was like 11 mid to larger earthquakes that hit the coast of Japan on August 8th. So I mean, there's
So
like lots of correlation with these alignments.
yeah. So going back to Ptolemy again, it was apparently it's always been really well known that these conjunctions cause Earth events, and they wrote books about it in ancient Persia. The ancient Persians were really into all of this. They know all this. They knew that they were going to cause Earth events, these conjunctions, and even in The Witcher, you know the television program The Witcher. They're always talking about it's post-event. The whole thing is set post-event, and they talk about the Great Conjunction, when everything changed after the Great Conjunction, and archaeologists finding things from before the conjunction. So yeah, these conjunctions. So look out for major conjunctions. So what is it tomorrow? One.
Tomorrow's August 8th.
I've got stellarium up most of the time. I look at because I think a lot of people do think that the stars actually do go out at night, but they're all still up there. And if you put stellarium on and put night vision on, you'll see that in the day, most days these days, Venus is in the sky, Mercury's up there, Mars is up there, and they're all dancing around all over the place most days, conjuncting. There's all these little mini conjunctions going on. And down here, you've got all this weird stuff going on, which seems to correlate to a lot of what's going on. And this is what these astrology alchemists look at, these Earth events that tie in with the sky events. And it can get quite complex. What it
tells me is this, this is more technology activating to do a role or process.
Yeah. And as you say, FPV, they've been stealing it. They've been taking over some of it and replicating it and messing about with the natural order of things.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing, isn't it?
Yeah, which is what we're seeing.
This is, why would you hide it otherwise?
Yeah. Because the sky never used to look like this. You never saw the layers you talk of. You never used to see them so clearly as you do now. And you were talking about what you were talking about, the layers, might explain what I witnessed the day before yesterday. I actually filmed the cloud, but I missed it when it stopped. I was watching, there was a whole layer moving across with a lot of wispy clouds. And at the same time, there were a lot of more big fluffy clouds moving towards me. And I was watching the fluffy clouds move towards me when they stopped. I saw them stop. I actually saw it stop. I thought, my God, it stopped. And it stayed in the same place for a good half hour, just sort of over my house in the north. And I just thought, it stopped. And all the rest were carrying on behind. And I went and did a bit of gardening, went back, stood in the same place, got the camera, looked, still in the same place. And then it just sort of dissipated away gradually.
I would say it was probably attracted to a halo that probably, shut down, so it stopped. It had nowhere to go.
Yeah, it halted it. And its tracks. I almost felt it judder. It just went dum. I thought, my God, it stopped. And then the rest of the clouds sort of caught up to it, and it stayed there.
Yeah.
Wow. Something got in its way that I couldn't see.
Or it was heading towards a halo that just switched off.
Yeah, but there was a halo. I think these, because I call them the cloud systems that come in, and I say they seem to be circling around us. Well, they're halos.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching halos because they are huge, great big circular things, and think they're coming towards you, but they're not. They're going off over there, and then sometimes they're that way. Yeah, well, it's just the halos I'm seeing. And as they move, you're seeing like wispy, wings of the angels.
I like that one you showed me with the three of them in the sky.
The 3 funnel ones,
Yeah, the three cones.
and they
You
they
know,
appear there quite often. Yeah, I'm
that's
going to
three,
look out for them.
that's definitely three cones of angels.
Yeah, I've caught them twice in the same place. The last time there were only 2 of them, but they're always in the same place. And there's something else that always comes in the same place in the northwest as well. So I'm going to have a look on the maps and see what's around up there. And the sun's in certain places, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we're checking that out.
Yeah.
You just get it gets more noticeable, doesn't it? You can read nature.
Yeah,
You can,
I don't know. Is it any? Does it usually go completely without birds this time of year? I mean, earlier on in the year, it was just so noisy out here with birds all the time. And I know it was a nesting period and everything, but they had loads of babies because for a week I had to keep the cats in. And now there's nothing. There's nothing.
I would say they're probably, I see them out in parks, and they're usually out learning the young, everything this time of year.
Yeah. I think
Especially
they just all buggered off somewhere.
a good place to watch them is like a riverbank, and you'll see like crows bringing the young crows over and
Yeah, I think
learning them how to drink from
crows
the
and
water.
ravens and jackdaws and magpies. Maybe they've taken them all out.
No, they just teach. They're
Loads of carrier birds.
they're out there
Loads of
teaching them.
seagulls.
They're teaching them how to survive in the real world.
Yeah, showing them the ropes.
Yeah,
Come keep kittens in.
Yeah.
Teaching the ropes of life before letting them out into the real world.
Did Jose rephrase that question one?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
I'm
That
not
was
sure.
really interesting one. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at the alignments. Yeah.
Mm.
Is it a Venus and Mars or something? Again. Milo asks, so the sun is on a halo that is only visible to us under certain circumstances. What prevents us from seeing it? What instruments can allow us to see halos?
Well, they're operating outside of our visible spectrum, but it appears we're doing these resets, they start coming into view. So, frequencies are changing and we start to see things we don't normally see. We're looking at, other ways of seeing it. And what I can see they're doing with the chemtrails, if you look at what they're doing with the sun, following the sun across the map basically and chemming everywhere below it so you don't see the halo. But they can only block the horizontal halo. They can only block Eve from showing. They can't block Adam. Adam's the smaller one that you see around the sun. Eve's the larger outer one, the horizontal one that's got other nodes on it. So whatever they're chemming the sky with blocks Eve's halo, but it's not blocking Adam's. So you might want to, one's electric and one's magnetic. They're blocking the magnetic one, but they can't seem to block the electric one.
Yeah, that makes sense though, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that's what they're doing. I've noticed that a lot now, and it made sense. Whatever they're chemming, it's able to block the magnetic parts of this halo system showing, but not the electric. So we're seeing half of what's really there, aren't we?
Yeah.
But if you can go somewhere cold and you've got ice crystals, you will see a lot more of it. The ice crystals and water droplets do help reveal things more.
Yeah. Well, one has replied that your camera can film it, time lapse it, and move around the sun at different times of day, because sometimes you don't think there's one there, and there is one there.
It's
So
always
it is
it's always there. You just can't
it
always
is
see it.
worth sort of filming it, just snapping it now and again. And sometimes it's like the sky changes when there's going to be a halo, and some of these weird clouds, some of the other halo clouds that are going around seem to show it up as well. Depends what's up there, I think, as well.
So a lot of people think the chems are what's showing it, but it's not. They're trying to hide it. They're trying to dry. What the chems are doing is drying the atmosphere up, which is interfering with the precipitation process. Now, if you look at our end times decoded videos, you'll see halos in history before chem planes were even invented. So it's not the chem planes making them show. they're actually hiding. You know, if they weren't Kemet, you would see a hell of a lot more of that halo in the sky. I know that because you would have more ice crystals in the atmosphere that would show it. So you know, this is why they want to dry the atmosphere up. Global warming, as they call it. It's these people doing it.
Oh, yeah, global. Yeah.
Global nonsense going on.
Yeah, I took any notice of that. That's just rubbish.
So what have you been up to, lately? What have you been busy with?
Just looking into Earth energy.
Any discussions on that or anything?
I have a video. It's kind of lengthy though.
Ah, yeah, we've got time. We've got plenty of time. We're streaming well. Nothing's gone wrong. I'm not getting port flooded. Let's go for it. Me and Jack's on mute if you want, and let you present what you're doing then.
Yeah, mute.
So today, let's talk about Earth energy, but we're going to go into some advanced learning. Let's sort out the science of Earth energy. Spirals have long been objects of fascination in many parts of human culture, from art and architecture to science and mathematics. Within nonlinear dynamics, spirals have been studied in connection with such diverse phenomena as spiral density waves in galaxies, spiral waves of electrical activity in the heart and nervous system, growth spirals caused by screw dislocations in crystals, and spiral patterns in florals on the head of sunflowers, just to name a few. Here, we consider a spiral pattern of a type that, as far as we know, has not been discussed previously. Instead of a pattern of density or phase, it is a pattern of instantaneous frequencies, hence called a frequency spiral. Most of the energy in the Earth system comes from just a few sources. Science names those as solar energy, gravity, radioactive decay. APM would agree with most of that, adding the rotation of the technology of Earth. Solar energy drives many surface processes such as our wind, currents, and hydrologic cycle, and the overall climate system. The solar cycle is the most powerful of all the technology and sustains life. Radioactive decay creates heat in the Earth's interior, while Earth's technology rotational forces influence currents of air and water. Energy flows on Earth can take many forms. In some cases, the energy flows are constant, such as the decaying of natural occurring radioactive materials within the Earth. This process releases heat to the Earth's interior, which helps to drive the motion of our plate tectonics at a fairly constant rate. This is our technology that runs at zeros, ones, and twos. I have referred to this as the Earth's binary code in the past. Walter Russell would call this the Earth's heartbeat. In other cases, the energy flows can vary over time, such as a carbon cycle. Energy drives the flow of carbon between different reservoirs. Carbon can exist in carbonate rock like limestone, stored in fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas, in the atmosphere, in the ocean, in the molecules of biological organisms. So all of the energy that is in the Earth's cycles up and the photosynthesis cycle of the luminaries and the electromagnetic lattice of our heavens cycles downwards. This is our Adam and Eve cycle, our positive and negative cones meeting at the center for the axis of two opposite rotating vortices. This very special fulcrum point is the harness point of Earth energy. This pushing force from two directions is gravity, the central point of the vortices of the angels. This is the energy on a microscopic level in our realm, which is still very large. These can come in different shapes, sizes, and forms, depending on the frequency they are emitting and the function of the angel. Why angels? Enoch said, their appearance was multicolored like a rainbow. Their size was 900 measures. Their wings were those of angels, but they have 12 wings each. Their faces were like the shining sun. Their eyes were like burning lamps. From their mouths fire was coming forth. Their clothes was various singing. Their wings were more glistening than gold, and their hands were whiter than snow. Many natural but still technological systems can be viewed as enormous collections of self-sustained oscillators. Examples include networks of neurons and heart pacemaker cells, coursing crickets, congregations of fireflies, arrays of Geophysical junctions, oscillating chemical reactions, applauding audiences, and generators in the power grid. These systems often display a remarkable capacity for mutual synchronization. If the oscillators interact strongly enough, they can spontaneously fall into a collective rhythm. This could be compared to the Schumann resonance on the total Earth scale. Then a macroscopic fraction of the system runs at the same instantaneous frequency, despite the inevitable differences in the natural frequencies of individual oscillators. The most widely studied mathematical model of mutual synchronization is the Kuramoto model. It consists of a large collection of phase oscillators coupled attractively to one another through the sine function in their pairwise phase difference. The oscillators themselves are diverse. Their natural frequencies are randomly distributed across the population according to some prescribed probability distribution. In this way, the model embodies the competition between order and disorder mentioned above. The sinusoidal coupling tends to synchronize the oscillators, whereas the randomness of their natural frequencies tends to desynchronize them. On a two-dimensional square lattice, the system was introduced nearly 30 years ago, but many things about it still remain mysterious. For example, they don't know whether it exhibits macroscopic synchronization for any fixed finite value of the coupling strength. They don't know if the system displays a frequency-locked cluster of size. By a frequency-locked cluster, they mean a connected subset of oscillators having the same long-term average frequency. The available evidence suggests that the coupling needs to grow, like for a macroscopic cluster, to exist on a two-dimensional grid. This can be explained and compared to our world matrix grid of angel technology. Each individual angel will run at its own speed, causing the vibration and frequency it emits. But it's also synchronized with the system as a whole, building the glorious Schumann resonance as they all oscillate and work separate but still together. We regard the phase vortex as living at the center of the unit cell of 4 oscillators, rather than on any one oscillator. Phase vortices may be thought of as topical objects. They are conserved by the dynamics and vanish only if they collide with the vortex of the opposite sign or fall off the edge of the finite grid. On a torus, one can prove on purely topical ground, irrespective of dynamics, that there must be an equal number of positives and negative vortices, which can only ever be created or destroyed in pairs. In one scenario, a single vortex circulates around the boundary of the cluster. In the second scenario, a pair of oppositely charged vortices is periodically created at a certain spot. The vortice then splits apart, travels along opposite sides of the cluster, and finally annihilate each other at the far end of the cluster boundary. In both cases, it is found that a phase vortex moves between 2 oscillators. The pair accumulates a 2 pi phase slip. Such phase slips cause the difference in average frequency across the boundary between 2 clusters. This phase slip on the macro scale is the earthquakes that we can see for the effects. Between 2 major energy points, we will always find the fulcrum and larger activity of the combined energy. The motion of the vortices also explains why the clusters are sometimes stable and sometimes unstable. The stable case corresponds to the vortex pair scenario. The consistent motion of the paired vortices leads to cluster with time-independent boundaries. Finally, if the phase vortex is extended to the entire grid, thus forcing the grid to have a non-zero winding number around its boundary, we get a phase spiral. These spatially extended structures have been proven to be stable phase-locked solutions under the Karamoto dynamics, as well as the case where all the oscillators have identical frequencies. They can clearly identify 2 spinning arms coming out of the central core. One is a positive and the other is a negative. Loosely speaking, it nearly appears as if we have a pair of rotating dipoles. Because they rotate at a constant rate, the 2 arms are equally intense. These arms end up averaging out in the average frequency. We call these structures frequency spirals, since they appear as spirals in the instantaneous frequency field. So looking into a canonical frequency spiral, it's time to drill down into its features. Numerical integration shows that the rotation period of the spiral doesn't change much from cycle to cycle. In this sense, the structure is persistent in time. In space, however, it decays. We can take a freeze frame of the spiral and examine how its positive and negative arms of high and low instantaneous frequencies attenuate with distance from the core. But of course, as the Earth energy travels from the energy point of the energy released, it would decay with space away from the center. Now let's discuss torus energies. Observations of the magnetic field of Earth's surface indicate that more than 90% of this field arises from sources internal. A variety of mechanisms for generating this field have been proposed, but at present only the geomagnetic dynamo is seriously considered. In the dynamo mechanism, fluid motion moves conducting material across an existing magnetic field and creates the electric current. This current produces a magnetic field that also interacts with the fluid motion to create a secondary magnetic field with the same orientation as the original field. The two fields come together and are stronger than the original. The additional energy in the amplified field comes at the expense of a decrease in energy in the fluid motion. Thermal heating is the process that drives the fluid motion. For many years, it was thought that this heating was caused by radioactive elements dissolved, which I would say still holds a lot of weight, because when we use our APM eyes to understand the Earth and its energy systems, the heat flows in all directions, raising the temperature of adjacent regions. Because heat cannot be lost from the interior, it eventually flows to the surface. There, it is radiated into the atmospheres as infrared radiation. This process establishes a radial temperature distribution that decreases towards the surface. If heat is generated too rapidly for conduction to carry it away, a second process, convection, becomes important. In convection, energy is transported by bubbles of hot fluid that rise towards cooler regions, carrying more heat than flows through the same material at rest. Several conditions must be satisfied for the fluid motion to produce a magnetic field. First, the fluid must be electrically conducting. Second, a magnetic field must be present, possibly as a relict of the initial formation of the body. Third, some force must introduce twists into the fluid motion so that the initial magnetic field becomes distorted by the motion. For Earth, the liquid iron is very conducting. Crystal substances are conducive as well as nickel, cobalt, idostone, and alloys of these, as well as others. This also is the effect science uses to describe stars. When using our APM eyes, this would make sense that the process of stars is seen above as well as seen below. Now this, and the flow of lava, which is carrying the soil and earth around and through the underworld, is creating an initial magnetic field. And the vortice technological areas we have spoke of so many times introduce the twists. The rising fluid carries with it the toroidal magnetic field. After a rotation of about 270 degrees, the magnetic field lines begin to twist about themselves and can diffuse through the conductor, disconnecting from the toroidal loop. At this stage, the rising loop is orientated in a meridian plane with the field pointing in the same direction as the original field. This process is called the alpha effect. In the cells of sinking fluid, the toroidal field wraps in the direction, and the poloidal loops have the opposite polarity. If the sinking process was exactly symmetrical, field loops produced in this manner would cancel loops created by rising fluid. Thus, for the process to create a net field of the correct signs, loops produced by sinking fluid must be weaker than the loops resulting from the rising fluid. This here is explaining the angel fields and how it begins. Magnetic fields measured at Earth's surface are not entirely produced by the internal dynamo. Radially outward from Earth's underworld, the next major source of magnetic field is the crustal magnetization near the surface. Example, soil. The temperature of the material constituting the crust is cool enough for them to exist in soil form. The solids may become magnetized by Earth's main field and cause detectable anomalies. We have discussed several of these anomalies and anomalous areas in past videos. Now, when we take these poloidal fields and toroidal fields, and they both are working simultaneously, we now have our Earth's magnetic field, which in my opinion is unpassable without electrocution or great harm at the maximum height of the astral planes. This energy would be at the edge of the atmospheric layers, which in my opinion is unpassable without electrocution or great harm. This is where our stars and planets reside. This would be what I would consider any type of a firmament and electrical energetic blockade, which leads us into the Van Allen radiation belts. As we move into this subject, you will have to put prior thoughts and ideas aside that you may have learned about the Van Allen belts and understand that we are still talking about within our realm, just very high above the surface. The Van Allen radiation belt is a zone of energetic charged particles, most which originate from the solar wind, that are captured and held around our plane by the magnetospline. Earth has two such belts, and sometimes others may be temporarily created. The belts are named after James Van Allen, who is credited with their discovery. Earth's two main belts can extend from an altitude of about 640 to 5,800 kilometers, which is 400 to 3,640 miles above the surface, in which region radiation levels may vary, but radiation levels in the belts would be very dangerous to humans if they're exposed for extended periods of time. Most of the particles that form the belts are thought to come from the solar wind and other particles of cosmic rays. Let's take note here as I speak upon cosmic rays that this universe is above as well as below and very local. For more information, I would suggest watching the underground lab video I did a little while back. By trapping the solar wind, the magnetic field absorbs those energetic particles and protects the lower atmosphere from destruction. The belts are in the inner region of Earth's magnetic field. The belts trap energetic electrons and protons. Other nuclei, such as alpha particles, are less prevalent. This layer would be right above the exoplanet layer. This is where we get our solar wind region. This layer is mainly composed of extremely low densities of hydrogen, helium, and several heavier molecules including nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide closer to the exobase. The atoms and molecules are so far apart that they can travel hundreds of kilometers without colliding with one another. Thus, the exosphere no longer behaves like a gas. These are free-moving particles following a ballistic trajectory and may migrate in and out of the magnetospline or the solar wind. Earth's auroras, the aurora borealis and the aurora australis, sometimes occur in the lower parts of the exoplane, where they overlap into the thermoplane. It is generally understood that the inner and outer Van Allen belts result from different processes. The inner belt, consisting mainly of energetic protons, is the product of the decay of so-called albedo neutrons, which are themselves the result of cosmic ray collisions in the upper atmosphere. The outer belt consists mainly of electrons. They are injected from the geomagnetic tail following geomagnetic storms. So this would be our meteors and meteor showers. They are subsequently energized through wave-particle interactions. Keep in mind, although this is quite high in altitude, we are still speaking of our realm. In the inner belt, particles that originate from the sun are trapped in the Earth's magnetic field. Particles spiral along the magnetic lines of flux as they move latitudinally along those lines. As the particles move towards the poles, the magnetic field line density increases and their latitudinal velocity is slowed and can be reversed, reflecting the particles and causing them to bounce back and forth between the poles. In addition to the spiral about and an motion along the flux lines, the electrons move slowly in an eastward direction while the ions will be moving westward. A gap between the inner and outer Van Allen belts, sometimes called the safe zone or slave slot, is caused by very low frequency VLF waves, which scatter particles in pitch angles, which result in the gain of particles to the atmosphere. The radio waves were originally thought to be generated by turbulence in the radiation belts, but they are actually generated by lightning within Earth's atmoplanes. The generated radio waves strike the ionosphere at the correct angle to pass through only at high latitudes, where the lower ends of the gap approach the upper atmosphere. All of this could be the firmament, and all of this would be taking place in the firmament that's spoken of by the ancients. Now, people try to pass it off as some solid dome, which can't be proven, and I'm not proving this theory either. But I'm putting this out as a theory to be taken as a serious possibility, considering that we do live in an electro-alchemagnetic realm.
Beautifully presented and explained by one conscience. Fantastic work, that one. Amazing. And very correct.
That was really beautiful.
Didn't expect to see all that. That's excellent work.
No, and very clever.
No, it's well thought out, and it's, step aside mainstream. This is how it should be explained. That's reality right there.
And explaining it and showing it at the same time, how it works.
Yeah, that's, a technological explanation on a scale you've not seen before.
Mm.
So there's some questions that went on.
Yeah.
Alliance Creed. So first, he was addressing me, but could earthquakes be caused by large amounts of metal, like iron, adjusting to Earth's magnetic field?
No, it's more the angels doing what they do. I mean, the metals adjusting, things in the ground will tremble and shake, but it's the cause you're looking for. It's the angels doing it. You have to go back to the cause. We can talk about effects all day, but there has to be a cause in the first place, and it's this technology activating, or even deactivating. It might do things when it deactivates.
Yeah, I responded. I said, I'd say the earthquakes are caused from the electromagnetic forces moving across the grid, and we feel the shaking.
Yeah, it's it all ties in together. It's a combination of all this going on, isn't it? We can't pinpoint it to, it's that or that, but we can say all these are related into that cause. It's coming from that cause. So yeah,
And then
good question.
the conversation went on a little bit, but then
I
he asked,
didn't think so. I didn't think it went on that long. It was interesting, so it didn't seem a long time.
I think meant the guy in chat.
yeah, it just went on a bit, and then he asked, influenced by Professor Nigel Cheese. I was
Oh,
thinking,
right, yeah. Who is Nigel Cheese?
He looks like some scientist that used to be in the Royal Navy and does experiments with LEDs and claims to have figured out some
Okay.
free energy. I've shared a couple of his videos before. It's interesting science.
Yeah, I'll look
I
it
like
up.
the science that he's working on. It does make sense to me what he's doing. But you'll find a few of his videos on my channel. I think if the guy's genuine, put it this way, if the guy's genuine, he should do a bit more to promote it and show more bits and pieces. Yeah, he wants to try and hide it and obviously retire on some benefits from it, which is fair comment. If the guy's invented something, he's entitled to that. But he's not helping himself with his videos. He needs to explain things better and show things better with his videos.
Yeah.
So I can't confirm or deny his science, but I do like how he's doing it, and what he's doing on the circuit boards does make sense. When you see what he's doing with like capacitors and LEDs, you're banking it. This is what the angels do. I showed an animation last week where it goes through the octaves, when it narrows down, then spreads back out, the compression, fusion, and expansion process. You basically got to do the same with components, which is exactly what he's doing.
okay, so he said, I was thinking of putting an APM map over LEDs and see the field lines as reported with a big magnet for the NP. Has anyone done this yet?
No more.
No, not that I'm aware of. I was going to put the LEDs on the world map where the chakras were. I haven't got around to doing it, but I've got the LEDs on a big. It's like a giant mouse mat, like a table-sized mouse mat of the world map that we use. So I'm going to light that one day just as a project and put on the wall in the bedroom. It's probably, I'll maybe show a video of it, but it won't be used in presentations or for anything. It's just for my own viewing. But yeah, it'd be interesting, experiments like that. I do like his work. It looks correct what he's doing, and I'd actually emailed with him and give him some tips and showed him, the realm, how the realm model works basically, and hopefully he'll take something from, learn something from that and maybe apply it to his science. Because if you want free energy, you got to study Walter Russell's work. Walter Russell shows you how to make this. It's so easy. I say it's easy. I can't manufacture these parts that you would need to do it myself. But there's plenty of clever people out there that can make this kind of equipment very easily, and it work at any scale. Doesn't matter what scale you're working at. You can scale this up or down, micro or macro.
Yeah.
The creators is running on the micro scale. We have to work at the macro scale, which is what Nigel's doing, and other people. It's not just Nigel. Look at Roy. They're all using components, and that's why Jimbo's now presenting electrical components into our research, because it's not much different. Scale it down, it's the same thing.
And then Stephen J said, where can I acquire the Nigel Cheese tech? Followed the links I thought would be productive with no success.
He does have his own channel. I did link to it under one of the videos on my channel, so you can go and watch on his own channel. I haven't been keeping up or seen anything new from him pop up. So you best go and directing it all to his channel. I just featured his videos because I found them very interesting. I like the science, and I think he's onto something. But yeah, it's best direct them to Nigel.
And then Robert Pitt said, do you believe outer empty space is a source, and that nothing, I think nothing, he meant nothing, can ever exist without empty space?
Well, there's always empty space, isn't there? It's not empty though, is it? We've got life. I mean, let's define this correctly. You know, people talk about atoms or particles. We're going to call them light entities. You know, Walter says there's only light, and it comes in neutrals, negatives, and positives, basically, which is how everything works. And they're transmutable, so I'm going to call them light entities. These light entities exist in the ether as positive, neutrals, and negatives. And also in manufactured cable or wiring, they're automatically aligned correctly during that process. So they have no choice because they're within the confines of this construct, and it's everything is governed by this construct. So everything in a cable, you know, a piece of electrical cable, all those positive and negative light entities have been aligned correctly within that cable during its production, unknown to most people. And all they're doing really is passing waveforms through it that agitate these and generate what we call electric. So you've got, let's call them free radicals in the atmosphere, in the ether. You've got them floating around everywhere, rising and falling and all the rest of it. Transmutable, and this is what the angels are manipulating. We do it on a micro scale, macro scale, using components and technologies and wire. It's not much different. Very clever stuff. You know, I love watching these electronics projects. I subscribe to quite a few channels that do, you know, lots of electronics work, and it's such an easy hobby for people to get into and learn. You don't have to know anything about any of these components to build something that works. You know, these people will show you how to build it. They'll show you what parts you need and what to solder where. It's so easy to follow. Your children could do it, and they should be. You should be teaching your children these kind of projects, because there's some amazing, very useful projects out there I've been looking at lately that would really help get your electric bills down, and also in a survival situation. You know, you can have power. You can have power. So we are going to feature more projects like that, and Jimbo's going to be discussing, you know, these components and how they factor in and what they actually do. So Jimbo's there to, you know, give you some backing and background information on these components, and hopefully people's going to start doing their own projects. We're starting off small, you know. We're starting off small because we can't actually produce what you would call a Walter Russell motor, which is really a fusion reactor. But that's where people need to be looking. If they've got the skills to create that technology, the blueprints for Walter's motors on my channel, by all means take that and go ahead and go forth and create light, because you will. You know, Walter's motor ran a 52-room university from a 6-foot scale footprint model. Now scale, you know, you can scale this up or down. So, you know, 6 foot, you scale it down to 3 foot, you've got enough power there to run, say, 26-room university. Well, I don't live in something that size, so eventually you're going to find you can scale this down, people, to something that'll fit in your hand, and that's enough to run your home on. So easy. Well, I say it's easy. You know, you need the manufacturing, the processes, the safeguards. You will need safeguards, because otherwise you're going to have the problem of what we would call nuclear meltdown if it gets too hot, and they do get hot. Now, this is the heart of the angel technology. This is where it comes from. No different to the niches in the pyramid or the configuration of the Rome Colosseum and Walter's motor. They're all based on how the realm model works. Compressing the light spectrum to a fusion point and then radiating it back out. Amazing technology and information. And this is what our Creator was teaching us, people. You can see this everywhere in sacred geometry. We were being taught this from, you know, everywhere. It's no coincidence that every culture in the world's been taught the same thing. They just depict it differently and have different names for it, but it's the same thing. There's no coincidence there. We all knew how it worked, and we were all taught this in ancient times. You can't hide that when you figure out how this works and what's really been going on in this world. Massive attempts to try and hide it. By a faceless entity. We do get asked, you know, well, who's behind it then? Well, we can point at institutions, but we don't know if the people in them institutions are complicit with it, or they're just following orders. You know, that's not for us to decide. We're not here to judge anyone. We're here to show you what's taking place, how it works, and how it was hidden, and how to go outside and prove it to yourself in some cases, as with the rainbows. I think now's probably a good time to do the Rainbow Warrior video, just to give them a reminder. What do you reckon?
Yeah, and then I'm going to call it a night.
One more question. Does the toroidal field of a bar magnet have a constant direction like the right-hand rule?
Does the what, sorry?
Does the toroidal field of a bar magnet have a constant direction like the right-hand rule?
Good question. I think it's neutral until things are brought into play either side of it.
He said, "I will text soon."
You know, it's when you look at it, it's creating an equilibrium. So until other forces are affecting with, you know, interacting with it or affecting it, I think it's just going to be stationary, neutral looking thing, but it's actually, you know, creating an equilibrium just by sitting there, you know, with the atmosphere around it, the ether. That's another thing I'd like to see as well, you know, more of these magnet experiments, because I was watching a video the other day and there was a guy who just had one spinning, you know, a few small neodymium magnets spinning round on a little wheel, and it was boiling water. There's another free energy device, people. You could have a little solar panel turning that wheel, well, turning the motor that spins that disc that had the neodymium magnets on in a configuration of pretty much like the sun halo, eight magnets. North, south, north, south, north, south, north, south, and that rotating at speed, which can be achieved from using a solar panel, can be used to heat water. Cost, very minimal. So you could have that, you know, heating water all day, and what you could do with that water is pump it through your house, through your radiators, into your shower, your taps, you know, a geyser. So that's the kind of things I like looking at. Cheap, easy to make, off-grid solutions is what we need to be looking at for this reset, because when the grid goes down, we're not gonna have the phones, we're not gonna have internet or anything, probably no electric in your home. This can happen and will happen. Man can't stop it doing what it does, but they might possibly be trying. Who knows what they're doing down there. So I'll play the Glastonbury tour video, I think. Just as a reminder for people, because there's good information and tips in this video. Can you tell me if this has got sound? Because I have no idea if it's going to play sound one. Hello, and welcome to APM Research Operation Rainbow Warrior. Operation Rainbow Warrior is an operation I put in place after decoding what is creating the rainbow. You can watch that decode in our 144,000 video. So who are the Rainbow Warriors, you ask?
I don't hear it anymore.
You are, each and every one of you. With your help, we can map them and prove to you the people they appear to revolve where you see them.
No, there's no
What
sound.
this means is that they are the electromagnetic signature of angel technologies in the underworld. These are the Creator's glory sealed below, the seal of the 144,000. In other cultures they are saints, deities, cherubim, seraphim, Anunnaki, Elohim, creator gods, and many other names and depictions from all over our world. You are all referencing the same Creator's glory below and also beyond man's fake barriers, the international date lines and North and South treaties. The objective of Operation Rainbow Warrior is to teach you what is sacred about these sites everywhere in the world, as we can decode their sacred geometry and its meanings. This knowledge is older than man's written books, of which you must now look at with new eyes, and see that the characters referenced actually relate to their Creator's glory. The Creator's glory is technology of such magnitude and design it extends beyond the known world map, the correct map of which is the Mercator map we use in our research. We invite every human being to participate in this adventure, as you will find it very liberating, enlightening, and of course realize what creates our reality and how to see and recognize their signature in nature. The Creator's glory is technology called angels, and we will help you see them operating in nature, for they create what we call nature. Now, as you know, APM Research are doing a series on the world chakras. Considering we use Glastonbury Tor as our Rainbow Warrior logo, I thought I would decode the Glastonbury Tor for you to see how we do this. Decoding the 4th chakra, the heart at Glastonbury. Don't forget to bring your third eye, the 6th chakra, to see it. If you remember from my Milky Way decode, we consider chakras to be playing a shepherding role and behaving like wave guides for the spiraling waveform we call our Milky Way. Similar to horizontal and vertical hold functions a cathode ray tube would use. Glastonbury is considered to be the heart chakra of Mother Earth, with the ley lines of St. Michael and Mary Magdalene crossing over it. They converge at the Tor, which is located at the top of a small hill and forms part of the Avalon range. Famous for the mist of Avalon, an early morning phenomena that cloaks the town, today that mystery will be solved, and it relates to angel technology below. We are going to keep proving to you what is creating our very nature. There are many stories and legends told about Glastonbury Tor, relating to kings and other names of historic connection. These characters are personifications of the angel technologies below. The names and descriptions of them change somewhat over time, but what is below never changes. This is one of the seal of the 144,000 I decoded sarcophagi to represent, a sealed room below. Holy books tell you the underworld is the angel's prison. It is not lying. You have just forgot they were personified. This is why they are characterized with a halo above them. The spiral glyphs are the spiraling pressure waves of electromagnetism, what we now call wind. It is these halos that create an electromagnetic field and create the rainbows, winds, a projected halo, and of course weather conditions like rain and snow. They draw the sap up into the trees in the morning as the sun rises. Their electromagnetic field reverses polarity between day and night, which I detected on a solar panel. This drone flight was flown by drone pilot Drone HDTV Drone Journey, so a big thanks to you, matey. You captured something important I want to show you all. I want you to see the mist forming in the shape of a halo. It is this halo below that is responsible for the mist and fog conditions in that area. As you can see, it becomes visible during sunrise or sunset, meaning the ether is alternating current as I decoded. Also notice the mist or fog is also not ascending nor descending. It is in a neutral state awaiting programming. So we have effectively decoded the visible aspect of how to identify neutrinos, which now gives us a dawn neutral state, a daytime positive state, an evening neutral state, and a nighttime negative state. Isn't that interesting, people? Another APM first. Okay, now on with decoding St. Michael's Tower, which sits on top of the Tor, which actually means Torus field, the field created by the angel. If you look very carefully at the buttresses on the sides of the tower, you will notice 4 distinct venturis where it narrows. This represents the same octaves decoded in Walter Russell's motor, and also what I decoded from the King's and Queen's chambers in the Pyramid and Rome Colosseum. It is the blueprint for creating electrical energy, a manufactured torus field using compression and expansion and spiraling or compressed water. As far back as we look in history, man has always known what all of this represents and known how to harness electrical energy. That is very evident now, and it is created by the angels below, which man has always been aware of and harnessed from. This tower represents the compression and fusion point of compressed light in the electromagnetic spectrum. An angel does this using its torus field and the vortex compression flow of a tornado or waterspout manipulating the ether above land and sea. The angel below the tower is a king, a very important piece of the Creator's glory, which has been given the name St. Michael in modern times. A Christian once asked me what is sacred about geometry. Let me tell you this now. Our ancestors never worshipped false gods, nor was anything pagan taking place. They were all depicting the Creator's glory in all its weird and wonderful forms, everywhere. They were glorifying it, and all it represents, the exact same glory. Everywhere in this world, they've left us clues to decode, and this is something we are very good at doing, as I'm sure you have noticed. Our world is something created and very special. Need more proof? Behold, the King's rainbow, created by Michael and Mary, the electrical part of electromagnetism 90 degrees in opposition to the physical halo below, the origin of lightning, Adam and Eve, male and female, positive and negative, king and queen, electric and magnetic, masculine and feminine, Atlas and Alice, Jesus and Mary, Ra and Isis, prince and princess, gods and goddesses, the creator gods, the Creator's glory of the underworld, found in all holy books, creation stories, glyphs, myths and legends throughout time, are now being proven as true right before your very eyes. There is a Creator and their glory is everywhere. You are now a witness to these revelations. This cannot be unseen. It lives there, people. It always has and always will. Now who will be the first to time-lapse it revolving? The heart chakra is a Venturi system of compression and expansion similar to what we decode in lava tubes. It is designed to keep the flow moving, the heart of the angel. It stands to reason our own hearts do a very similar function. We have been decoding the Creator's glory now for over 5 years. We look for ways you can prove this to yourself, and Operation Rainbow Warrior is the way forward, as it involves all of you because this belongs to all of you. Get your children involved in locating and mapping rainbows too, people. They will love it. Rainbows are very special. They are part of the Creator's angels that we get to see in the visible spectrum. I made this clip to show you how the Sun and the angel's electromagnetic sphere interact as the Sun moves across the sky. The rainbow is either the Sun reflecting and refracting on the electromagnetic sphere, or this is what the electromagnetism looks like on a Creator-sized scale. When you spray a hose in your garden and find a rainbow, it is being focused down from behind you, meaning the full-sized rainbow is in between you and the Sun, behind you somewhere. When you record rainbows, be sure to look at the colour of its electromagnetic sphere below it, as it does change, and is possibly the reason behind the moon's colour changes we usually see as we are viewing it through this electromagnetic medium in the ether. Let me introduce you to two angels local to me. This one likes to play peekaboo in the mornings. On this one I've been watching for a few months. Watch how clouds gravitate towards the centre of the rainbow in this clip. This is electrical attraction, and you will notice clouds coming from different directions converging into the centre of the rainbow. This is their torus field in operation, drawing in the positives and negatives. I was watching this one a few days ago and noticed it more active than usual. The fingers of clouds coming down like branches on a tree. The winds were increasing and I was looking around to see if there was anything different taking place. After several minutes I found the culprit. It was you, Luna. You did this. My local angel was shepherding the arrival of the moon. Luna tried to hide, but it was too late. I got a positive ID. Pay particular attention to the clouds, people. Their movements are very revealing. We also look into other ways of detecting the angel's halo below, such as walking over sites with a device like this, which is just a piece of wire and an LED. This is basically an antenna now capable of receiving. The length of wire determines the frequency it will be most responsive to. The frequencies they operate on would require a very large antenna, which would just be too large to be practical. Coiling wire like this would be a way of testing. This one is reacting to a USB charging pad below the paper. The idea would be to walk across a site and see if it lights up. If they do, then add more, and at night it would reveal the outline. If you can think of other ideas, let us know. Emily Moyer suggested using a compass to see if it changes. And now for some rainbows. This one is from We Are Waking Up in Cork, Southern Ireland. So what I'll do here is give you some ideas how to go about recording your local angels. Try and use Google Earth to pinpoint the centre on the map. Take note of the rainbow's diameter so you can see where the edges reach. This will give us an estimate of scale. Take a look around in Google Earth at sacred sites, because it is not what is upon the surface that is sacred, it is what is below in the underworld. Once you have obtained the information, let us know the GPS coordinates of its centre and an estimated diameter, and we will add it to the APM database. This one is a full circle rainbow captured by Sunsets Sweden with his drone. I used the video to get some markers in Google Earth we can use to be more precise, which I called location identifiers. This is the smallest rainbow we have ever seen, which brings us to the classifications we will be using as the angels use a hierarchy system. This one would qualify as a cherubim, I think, one of the smaller, lesser roles, but still part of a larger process. There will be a larger one nearby that should connect to it. There are going to be more and more of these as this reset unfolds, so do have your cameras at the ready. This angel is now mapped and added to the APM database. Excellent work, Rainbow Warrior. I'm going to leave you with this helper file so you can start locating angels yourself and adding information. Don't forget to include your children, they are the Rainbow Warriors of tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, what is it that makes a site sacred? It is not what is upon the surface, as they are merely location markers for something very special below. The Creator's glory, the angel technologies of the underworld. Our ancestors knew this very well, as they had many sites already marked, such as we find in UK. Castles built on top of Roman forts, which are built on top of Celtic forts, and so on. They are all location markers. Your holy books and creation stories exist to define your world and its workings, your very reality. Reality is not a religion. That is a man-made divide. Reality is just that. Reality. The truth. Let this angel be a guiding beacon of light, so that every human being remembers the covenant handed down to them from the Creator, giving you all dominion over this realm. This knowledge belongs to you all. It is your birthright that has been stolen from you. It is time for you to awaken. The future depends on it. Our research is proving there is a Creator, and their glory is the most amazing thing we have ever came across. Now you can ignore that if you like, we cannot. Open your eyes and see the Creator's glory they are desperately trying to hide from you. It is there for all to see. This world is far more magical and mystical than you could possibly imagine. See the glory, people. It is your birthright. This is an angel, a very special one. Look for it and you will see it and know the Creator's glory. Tribes of the world, it is time to awaken. We do this for the Creator, their glory, and the future of the human race. All glory to the Creator. But wait, there's more. Hello, and welcome to... There you go. So now we're going to decode the Eye of Horus. Just present this. as it was requested, and I was working on this anyway. So I haven't given it the words it needs yet, so I'm going to just talk you through it, and it will be given the words it needs and released as a separate video, or attached to the Glastonbury tour video. So let's get down to decoding the Eye of Horus. We're going to use Glastonbury tour as a good example, seeing as we're working on there at the moment, and Jax has been in the area. Well, we might as well feature this one tonight, and it was requested anyway, so let's take a look at this. So you can see the tour there, and now we're going to add the halo configurations in where they would be. So you can see now how the eye actually gets created. It's the pressure zones between these two halos, that very special place I mentioned in the Vesica Pisces. And the trace in yellow is the eye. So it's the eye of the eye of Horus is actually the eye of the Torus field. Now, before we go further into that, I want to bring you back to Yasmin's video, because I've got something important here I want you to see. See if you can see it yourself. But don't worry, it will get highlighted. Right there. Can you see what's taking place on the ground, right in the centre of that rainbow, going upwards? I'll adjust I'll give it a filter and then put traces there so you can see the shape. You see that? That's what's taking place coming down from the top of that rainbow. Now this is what's depicting, this is the cone. This is Adam's cone coming down to the ground to meet Eve. That's what you're actually seeing there. So this is Adam at work, bringing these layers of cloud down to the ground, driving the positives down basically to connect with Eve and generate electricity. That's what you're looking at there, and I thought that was very important and very useful that it was here. Now we're going to get into some legends now. Excalibur. What you're looking at there, people, that shape that's coming down, that is a representation of Excalibur. And this is why you see angels depicted with swords and spears. It's the tip of the sword or the spear that represents the cone that's coming down. So, no man, woman or living creature can ever extract Excalibur from the sword. Only the Creator's angels can do such a thing, because this is what it actually relates to. And this is where your myths and legends are coming from. King Arthur asks the Lady of the Lake for the sword Excalibur. You see, the king, or Adam, cannot have his power without Eve. Eve starts the process. Eve's the body, Adam's the head. It has to start with the body, otherwise the head doesn't work. That's why he's asking for the sword Excalibur. He's asking for permission for Eve to start up, basically, and then he can start bringing it down. And what you can also see from this, you look at human anatomy, don't they look like lungs? And your throat compressing food down, say, down to your stomach. Now, here's something else I noticed when I added the nodes. The chalice well is right beside node 3 on this halo. What's the chances of that, people? And it's not the only well there either. There's a well either side of that particular node. And here's the sacred geometry from this well, from two different sites. One of the sites' names is the Chalice Well, and the other one is called the White Spring, which is slightly east of the first well. So both of these wells are on opposite sides of node 3, believe it or not. And I'm pretty sure you can see from the sacred geometry depicted everywhere now what it's actually relating to. The spirals there, the Vesica Pisces. The white line coming through the centre represents the sword or the spear that the angel would use. Amazing stuff, isn't it, people? It all comes together and makes more and more sense the more you look at it. This is what this is the gardens around Avalon. People's always known this. I'm going to give this, a better wording and presentation. I didn't have time to finish it this week because I was doing the animations and things, but it was so. You could see the Eye of Horus. And like this one, look at those two stones. They're depictions of the two halos, Adam's halo and Eve's halo, right there, and the water's flowing through them. Now that's one of the wells there. That pumps up water. It's the angels that are pumping the water up. And you're getting, this is a popular site. You can go there and drink that. And look, there's the eye there in the water with the two halos, where it intersects the two halos. So it's depicted everywhere, the sacred geometry, and hopefully now you can understand what it actually relates to. It's these halos, it's the overlap of halos and the special place, which is the eye. Because our sun's projection unit is actually within the eye of the sun's halo system, and that's where the sun's image is coming from. And this is the other well on the east side of Node 3, the White Spring. Notice the sacred geometry, the spiral there, the DNA strand.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt, but your video is seeming very shaded.
Is it?
And yeah, on screen, I can see it beautifully, through our chat box here, but on YouTube, it's got this shading to it, and everybody, it was just the last two videos.
It doesn't matter, because like I said, this will be done as a separate video anyway. I've got most of the words written out for it, but it's not how I want to present it. But it was just to show people what the eye actually is and how special it is, and of course more updates on what's taking place around Glastonbury Tour. And what I wanted to point out as well, these kings and queens, I'm going to do a series on the angels in history and how they've been renamed and hidden so many times in our history. Like with this one here in John Dee's time, this is some of our older work. And if you look at the wording, it's princes and kings and ensigns. This is when they started to assign military designations to this technology. So the angels throughout time have been, renamed and put into categories, militarized and depicted all kinds of ways. So it's, I can see now what they've done and how they've done it in history, but it's quite an easy decode really. So this is what it all relates to, people. It's all back down to this again. And this is what the late Jordan Maxwell was talking about. It all relates to this, the cross. He knew it was related to the cross. And I think he would have loved our decodings if he'd have seen these. This is old work from a few years ago, and it's all related. You can see now there the cones. We now understand that they're cones. And the one with the line through the bottom of it was probably where it would depict the head being cut off, which is the switching Adam off or Eve off. So hopefully that kind of makes sense to people. It gives them a little bit more information on Glastonbury Tour, and the one eye symbology is this very special place within the Vesica Pisces, and you can see why. This project still isn't finished. There's larger halos still to connect to this. That's going to take you through them built up areas. So this is just a piece of a bigger decode that you're actually seeing here. But that's the eye, people. That's a very special place in between these two overlapping halos. And on the sun projector and the moon projector, that's exactly where their projection system is contained. I say projection system, it's actually a stand made of some kind of metal that can withstand heat, and it's electrical arcing that's creating that image within this altar. I'll call it an altar. That's what the ancients called it. But it's it'll have a technical word for it that I don't have the word for it yet, but this is where the sun's image and the moon's images are coming from, and it's this special area that helps project it out into the sky. It has to be located within the eye for it to be projected. So that's where your eye of Horus actually comes from. And that was a nice video by Yasmin there, that shows the cone actually coming down, and that's the tip of the sword of Adam, the angel, the electrical part of the process. I hope that makes sense, people, and it helps you understand this a bit more. Any questions on that, anyone?
Yeah, that was a really nice video though.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't have sound for ages.
Say again.
Well, you could actually hear it in stream. We couldn't hear it through our headphones.
Yeah, I couldn't hear.
There's no sound on the video. I was just talking on the panel over it.
No, your first video, we couldn't hear it in our headphones, but when I turned up the stream, you could hear it playing through the stream.
Oh, right.
Weird.
Hear it
I could hear it on the panel.
And
when
that
it came on, it suddenly clicked in, so I don't know what was going on. I hadn't touched anything.
Yeah, and videos that you play off YouTube are bright and clear. And if it's just a video that you're playing with a player, they have that dullness to them. Now we're back
Yeah.
to bright and clear. Like, so if it's just a video in your computer, it's not going to look very good. So once it's uploaded to YouTube, I think that's when they're clear and bright and vibrant.
That's strange, isn't it? We haven't had that trouble before.
Yeah. It was all shaded. It was like weird.
I could see that on the panel. I thought it was just something on the
Yeah.
panel. I didn't realise it was actually streaming that shading. I wonder. It's hope it's
Oh,
not.
it was shaded to you too? It looked bright on my phone. Like I was watching it on my phone and it looked
Yeah, it was
or
shaded.
on my computer, I mean. On my phone it was shaded, but on the computer it was bright and clear.
In the meet room, it was really clear, but on the live stream, it was all white shaded out.
Wasn't that an interesting part though with Excalibur?
Yeah, yeah,
Another easy decoder.
yeah.
The tip of the sword of the spear. Yeah, it all interconnects and makes more and more sense. I'll
Well, I'm
probably
going to say good night now. It's a bit late, and
Yeah, same here because
yeah.
it's dinner. I'm starving.
Yeah, no worries. Right, thanks
it's
everyone.
really
We hope you enjoyed the
interesting.
stream
Yeah,
and the presentations and our chatter.
and we got there in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we made it.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody.
Yeah, good night everyone, and thanks for
For
watching
asking me on,
and
it was
giving
great.
us your support. Please share and make aware.
Yep. Night night.